So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of the world that we defy. A soul ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League. We are here in the Platinum Division with the semifinal match between CB Rush and the Lancers Esports. And we're going to be diving here very quickly into the draft. Blitzcrank Band starting things off. Feedonomics, how are you feeling about this match, and what do you think about these bands?
Playoff league, playoff league, playoff league. I mean, I'm just excited to be here in semifinals, man. Like we've got one more pair of deciding factor games to figure out who's going to be playing in the finals. And I'm ready to get it kind of get there, man. I want to see good games. I mean, last week we had an amazing series. So I'm excited to see how this one pans out. Kindred getting banned over on the side of Lancers Esports, so they don't want that in the hands of CB Rush as jungler. Gwen getting banned out, probably, I guess it's a flexible pick, but that probably would have been a top lane target, because I don't really see Gwen played in the jungle as much this often anymore.
Yeah.
Wukong ban.
Yeah, the Wukong ban definitely a little bit targeted here towards Noble Attempt. And that Gwen that you were talking about, I definitely agree. We haven't been seeing a whole lot of that champion come through in the jungle role recently, especially after that set of nerfs that hit her back in around 12.6. So I most likely am looking at CBR just kind of trying to take away some of Lancer's early game viability. Top side of the map, Hito not going to be able to go on one of their favorites. Jarvan going to round out the bans here for this first round, and now it's over on to CB Rush in order to try to start off this draft strong. And the Viego is one way to do that, that's for sure, Feedonomics.
That does feel kind of strong. We're half a Rubik away, we're half away from being a whole Rubik. Let's see if I get a Silas in this game. Are you shocked? Are you shocked that I was after a Silas?
I'm not shocked whatsoever, no.
Though I do also like the pickup of Nautilus, last week in the series between Rush. Nautilus was a contested pick the whole way through and seemed to be a really strong support at the moment. So no arguments there. Do you think we're just going to fill out Lancer's bot lane here and we're just going to select an ADC, or do you think they try and go ahead and match junglers?
I think we're going to be getting the jungler in the first set of picks, but yeah, the Kayn coming through right here is a little bit interesting versus trying to prioritize the ADC here, just kind of rounding out that lane before CBR is able to respond. This might give a little bit more priority to pick up one of these high contest champions there in that role. Something like the Jinx could easily come through for CB Rush. And I think that could set them up for a really solid response. Nautilus obviously wants to engage down onto Squishies, and Jinx isn't the most mobile of ADCs, but it is still so powerful that I would love to see one of these teams try to contest it. In fact, though, we're actually going to be seeing CB Rush pushing away from the meta a little bit and going for mid and top picks. Ornn and Ahri going to be selected.
And Camille to match the Ornn. I do like that matchup for the Camille. But I do like the strength of Ornn in this league, slash games just in general, because of how far long they go, and it gives Ornn the ability to upgrade the entire team, and then technically you've got a mythic and a half worth of an item over top of somebody, right? So like I said, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch how that plays out.
Yeah, for sure. I actually saw an Ornn get a pentakill last week, so, Feedonomics, I'm just excited to see this champion come out. They are so powerful. Obviously, they're able to take a lot of punishment, but a good pilot like Noble Attempt, who has popped off on this champion before, can really just kind of bring it to the enemy team and actually just do a whole lot to turn around team fights. Double ADC ban so far from Lancers, and one of the ones that they're ignoring here is actually going to be that Jinx. I think they're playing a little bit of hot potato with CB Rush, given the fact that they're going to have the first pick of the second phase. We might see Rush actually have to knock out this champion, but instead, it looks like they're actually going to pivot over to mid lane, take away that LeBlanc.
Yeah, LeBlanc doesn't have the worst matchup against Ahri, maybe even a good one, I would say. Can definitely be slippery to avoid all of the damage that she likes to throw out, except for her Spirit Fire. So kind of like that ban. And like you were saying, Lancers is gonna go ahead and lock in the Jinx, and go for the strength there. So what are we missing? We're missing the mid lane on Lancers. How do you feel? I'm thinking maybe a Victor. That'll
Yeah, I
be
think there's a lot of different ways to go here. The Yasuo is one of them, actually has the response going their bot side of the map alongside the Galio. This is very aggressive for Percy and Kanaina, but you know, I think that this is something that Percy has picked up before and performed pretty well with, even within a playoffs here. So if they are confident, then I am as well. Obviously, Jinx has some amount of lockdown there with the Flame Chompers, but a good Yasuo is just going to be able to dash to and fro and kind of avoid that zoning tool. And the Vex going to be the final lock-in for Lancers here to go into the mid lane.
I don't think I've actually gotten to cast a game with Vex yet. What do you think about her, Narco? I still haven't, honestly. I've only dealt with Vex. I've not tried to play her yet still.
Yeah, I think that Vex is a really nice pickup, especially into the enemy team. You're going to catch out a lot of the dashes and mobility options that these champions bring forward to the table. You'll be able to repel ganks from Viego, who has to use the W to get in, and obviously Yasuo, Ahri, two very mobile champions that will kind of get tamped down a little bit by the fear that Vex is able to bring to the table. So I really like it. I think it's definitely a responsive pick, and Lancers definitely have responded with it here.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I do like Lancer's comp in this. Maybe because they got it, have a traditional kind of team comp, right? I don't know how well the Yasuo, and I can only assume that it's going to be a Yasuo Ahri, or I'm sorry, a Yasuo Galio lane. It could be Ahri bottom. That is slightly a possibility. I don't know. I don't know if I like the way that Rush's comp looks at the moment. I'll have to see it in action first.
It's definitely a confidence play for sure if we will in fact see the Yasuo bot. I imagine that that's what's going to come through here. But obviously we'll get that locked in within the client draft phase itself as well. One of the things that I want to note is Kanaina is going to go back onto the Galio. This is a pick that has popped a few times within the Blue Otter League, and it is always going to be oriented with something that's aggressive and something that can work as a kill lane. Yasuo definitely functions as such, especially up against the Jinx. That being said, going this lane into a Nautilus, a little bit surprising in my opinion, Feednomic. Nautilus, obviously great D push, solid ability to counter engage, and also just so tanky that they can absorb the abuse that Yasuo brings to the table, even if Galio does get its solid taunts off onto this champion.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Lancer's comp looks more solid. You're not wrong about saying that Rush's comp is very much a confidence pick. There are multiple ways to kind of enable Yasuo, though, with the Galio and the Ornn. So at least they have that going for them. And there is a lot... Well, I would say there is going to be more CC on the side of Rush as long as Kayn doesn't go red. Which... I don't think Blue Kayn is as effective in like competitive kind of tournament environments anyways, right? Like Blue Kayn is more of your pub stompy build, like to 100 and 0 somebody. Whereas Ahri and Yasuo and Viego for that matter could be that target. I just think it would be wiser to go red Kayn.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Freedonomics. I think that while there are people you can burst down on the Kayn, Yasuo will have that Immortal Shield Bow up, so that's going to prevent him from getting 100 to 0 by an assassin-style champion in the jungle. And similarly, if you do misplay, you get caught out by something like Ahri Charm, you're just kind of dead. Viego's Heartbreaker is going to be such a fantastic tool to counter engage against a Blue Kayn, and so with that in mind, red is totally the answer here. It's also nice given the fact you don't really have a whole lot of bulk. Camille can take a little bit of abuse, but she is definitely not going to stand up to the amount of tankiness that Ornn brings to the table, and Nautilus is a support at the end of the day. Forgoes a lot of gold, even if they will ultimately build tanky. Getting that boost that you get from going Bruisery is going to be super, super valuable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and we haven't even talked about the fact that Nautilus's mastery may be glacial, right? Just because, like, I feel like Glacial's really strong on Nautilus right now, more so than Aftershock or Guardian. So that's gonna innately make him a little squishy. And for everybody at home, like I'll throw up the air quotes and be like a little squishier, because there's still a possibility that the man's super tanky. Nautilus is big. Let's go with that. We all saw that cinematic years ago. Not a tiny like diver at all.
Yeah. Honestly, though, if there is a game to kind of go for a non-glacial rune setup, I think this might be the one here. Like I said before, Yasuo Galio, they can ultimately work through that champion, and the extra tankiness could be valuable. But I also think that the glacial is a little bit less valuable against champions like Ahri, who are just able to kind of spirit rush out of its vicinity. These are champions that will be able to kind of vacate an area and cut down on that Keystone's viability, so I kind of do want to see them go for Guardian first. Guess we'll have to see, though. This also just could be the adaptation necessary in order to just get the few more milliseconds necessary to really lock down Yasuo, Ahri, champions like that. And that's all that you really need with champions like Camille, because you have that isolation with the Hextech Ultimatum, things like that. Vex also will just be able to target the skill shots a little bit better, including their ultimate, if they decide to go Freezy Boy. So there's a lot of options for sure. Some a bit more preferable than others, I think, right now. But
I think the other reason that I was thinking Glacial, right, is because it might give Jinx that extra bit of time to space back, to get excited as well. Just because of the lingering slow field that kind of happens, since New Glacial Augment is basically the ghost of spooky ghosts. Rest in peace, Twin Shadows.
I think I built that item
live
once.
With Heart of Gold. You'll live with Heart of Gold in infamy. Heart of Gold, best GP5 item. Like, don't at me.
I just miss Athene's, because I really was only a Yumi one trick back when the old items existed. Yes, I know I'm a zoomer.
Yuck. Like, it's just on so many I was a Yumi one trick. I'm now a Talio one trick. Like, what? Yeah. Who am I casting with? Ugh.
Trust me, you're not the only person to take abuse from on that. That being said, at the end of the day, Feedonomics, we're going to throw it to a quick break and come back with a banger of a game. It is the time to wash away the terrible choices that the casters have made from your minds. Don't worry about the metagame I'm trying to bring around. Worry about who's going to come out on top here in this best of 5 CB Rush versus Lancers. We're going to go to quick break.
No, Narco. I can't. We can't go to a quick break yet. Who's getting first blood? I'm gonna say it's the bot lane. It's Yasuo and Galio. Like, who's getting first blood? Hurry up. We gotta
go to break. I think Nautilus Jinx is gonna kill Yasuo. I think he's gonna go too far.
We're against one another. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Stick around. We will be back here in a moment.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division. We are here with semifinal round number 1 between CB Rush and Lancers Esports. We got both teams actually clustering up on opposite side of the maps. This is going to be an exciting start for sure, Feedonomics.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're just going to get an early invade on the side of Lancers. They're going to drop their ward off, and then I'm pretty sure they're going to walk away. Just walk away. Yeah, look at all that vision. Look at all that great vision from the side of Lancers Esports at the moment. There's no way they're not going to know when that blue spawns.
Yeah, I definitely like the foresight from CB Rush to go through into that tri-bush and just try to wait for a cheese movement by the Nautilus. But in turn, they will sacrifice a little bit of priority by dropping off vision their top side of the map. And actually, it looks like Bard Jungle only is going to stay there alongside Hito.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to get found out here. Rutledge, maybe not spotted yet. But they are just going to walk away. They realize that they're not going to be able to get the steal. Oh, look at all this experience! Oh, 20 gold advantage on the side of CB Rush at the moment.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy right there from the Lancers, I feel. They probably shouldn't have just hovered that that side of the map, just because I think it's due to the presence of Bar Jungle Only and Hito that we actually saw Cade use the sweeper. If they decided to just hold off and start right there at the Raptors as they're doing now, I think what we could have just seen is those two wards standing for quite a bit while longer.
No, I mean, you're not wrong on that, but I think they wanted to steal the blue. That was kind of their intent. So it was really smart.
Ooh, Dredgeline gonna land down onto Percy. Ignite also utilized Kana Ino walking forward, trying to PO for the team, but I think he's gonna get punished in kind. First blood over to Snazzy there for Lancers.
Point over to you, my man. Good call. Good call on the first blood. Just there was a little too much damage there early on the side of Jinx.
I get like half
doesn't
points.
have it yet. No,
I did say it was going to be Percy dying.
Full points, man.
Thank you.
Full points. We don't take away points here. Ooh, a little bit of a fight going on in the top lane.
Yeah, Hito going to hookshot right back onto Noble Attempt and try to get as much true damage down onto the Ornn as possible before they really begin to scale up with those items. I really like the Camille selection. I think that it's going to perform fantastically in lane, and although there is definitely a CS advantage for the Ornn right now, just 1 or 2 items, and I think that there's a real shot. That being said, bot lane, we see CBR going right back in. Solid knockup going to be dropped down onto Snazzy. Steel Thief going to climb it all the way back towards tower, though. And that is still Dredgeline out. Ooh. Snazzy going to whiff it, but that is a save by Lancers. We don't see Cade able to help pick up a kill bot side of the map, and in turn, things are going to stay at a slight advantage for Red Squad.
Did you ever think of all the puns that we get to make in this game? Like, you know, there can be a bunch of noble attempts, there can be snazzy plays. Like, I'm excited now. Oh, and the hook lands.
Yeah, I really like this. That's a solid taunt, though, as a response, and Snazzy is going to get exhausted and ignited, walking back towards tower. He's on a sliver of health. Eventually, Kana Ino will be able to pick that one up. Maybe a little bit too aggressive there. I like the fact that you're trying to capitalize on Cade moving out of the lane, but now Steel Thief's in a little bit of trouble. We actually have an invade on the bot side jungle from Cade, and if he wraps back around, we could be seeing a trouble there for the Jinx. Actually, they're going to move into the mid lane, though. Just kind of W away from the Vex.
Let's just say, no, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and get my back so that I can spend some of my gold. Speaking of gold, let's take a look over here. We got about even CS on everybody at the moment. The only place where it is a lot better, I would say, is the jungle, and that's still only by 1 camp. So, got a pretty even game going on at the moment. Kills on both the supports too at that. So balance among all things Narco.
Yeah, definitely there could be a bit more of an explosive start, but I'm happy to see everyone kind of calm down and just play safe here in semifinals. That being said, noble attempt going in onto Hito, and with only 1 health potion and some biscuits left, I think Camille's going to have to take a back seat, at least until they're able to finally get a back off and come to lane with some items.
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, Ornn doesn't have to leave lane to get his items.
That's for sure. Hito going to be hit by Bellows Breath in kind. We'll have to book it all the way back towards tower. This is an awkward position because the Camille really wants to try to push their wave in topside of the map. They're going to have to take an early back instead. Meanwhile, more action on the bot. Ina working fantastically to soak up this damage, and Snazzy is just caught out right here as the rotation comes down from Rutledge as well. We have Bar Jungle only in the area to try to help. Steel Thief, but Steel Thief is going to get punished. The double for Percy. Both bot laners are off the map, and unfortunately, Kane has to just sit idly by.
Yeah, Kane wasn't going to get there quick enough to actually counter the rotation from Rutledge. And, you know, CB Rush did a really good job at layering their CC there to make sure that Jinx couldn't get out. Steel Thief had no way to actually survive that situation once they got knocked up by the tornado.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Steel Thief, you know, almost made it back towards tower, but that's the power of Ina on the Galio. I think they've been doing a really fantastic job of just acting as a means by which to zone away Snazzy and punish hasty engages. Speaking of topside of the map, Hito once again going in here, trying to be a bit more aggressive, and Bar Jungle only caught out. Will have to flash over the wall on a sliver of health, somehow able to make it back towards tower, though. It took 3 men from CB Rush, but they were tired after their fight with Dragon, and they are not able to finish off that assassin.
Yeah, but getting his flash is also really strong, right? It kind of stops him from making as many moves as Kane would like to early. And, you know, you already got the dragon, so it was basically for a freebie. It was all free. So we'll have to see what happens here. We're hitting another kind of lull in the action while we had the bottom lane for Rush backing to buy their items. So the charm lands.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Lighthearted just getting melted there in the mid lane. I love the fact that we saw Cade not play too hasty. They could have been repelled away from that fight by Vex if he tried to initiate with his W, but waiting for Rutledge to land a charm before going in means that they're able to layer the CC and in turn pick up yet another kill. Score is currently 4-1 with about a 2,000 gold lead now for Blue Squad.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of confused on why Lighthearted stayed where they did. They Viego was sitting on a ward. Noble attempt going in.
Yeah, Hito going to get hit by... What in the world? I thought Camille was just going to make it back towards tower, but instead, it looks like Call of the Forge God was enough. Meanwhile, boss side of the map, CBR wants to continue to make plays. Steel Thief going low, got ignited and will fall, and now the knockup is to be had onto Snazzy. They're going to shield up, but it is not enough. CB Rush are rushing ahead in this game, that's for sure, Feedonomics. They want to end this one quickly and get deeper on into the series.
Yeah, this is not looking good if you're a Lancers esports fan. Just it's a lot of pain on the side of them to actually take all of the CC and sort of like find themselves on the ground repeatedly. Like Percy and Ina are definitely making this kill lane work. You have Camille not really respecting the grasp plus brittle proc. And it's kind of paying dividends, though. We do look like we have Snazzy coming in to gank Rutledge in the mid lane.
Yeah, pings are coming out. It looks like they have spotted out the Nautilus, so it's just going to be a matter of Ari playing a bit safer for the time being. But yeah, the story at hand currently is the advantages that we're seeing CBR not necessarily take in terms of CS, but just in terms of their ability to grab kills across the map early on here. And we see Ina come forward, force the flash out of their fellow support, and Lighthearted is just going to have to run their little legs all the way back towards tower. I think taking away that tool from the Nautilus is going to be pretty valuable. CBR are posturing for this Rift Herald, and that is one means of engage that you have just lost.
Ooh, almost. And it looks like Bar Jungle is going to go ahead and gank Percy. Percy sidestepping the Super Mega Death Rocket and just walks away.
Yeah, solid knockup right there, going down onto Bar Jungle only to repel the Kane. And Percy actually wants to turn this one around. He's going to flash forward. We don't have any Super Mega Death Rocket from Steel Thief. There's the ultimate from Kanaina, and the taunt is going to be utilized. It's not only going to be the jungler falling, but somehow CBR are able to translate a low Yasuo into 2 kills. Meanwhile, top side of the map, Snazzy trying to make a play of their own. Hextech ultimatum used on Noble attempt, but Hito wants out of there. Call of the Forge God is on, and the knockup is to be had. The flash forward. He's going to fall. Now Snazzy is getting punished as well. Across the map, CBR are coming out on top, and this is looking like a collapse for the Lancers.
Yeah, this is just 11-1, 11 minutes in the game. As much as I would love to say that the game is over, you can never say that. You got to think back to game 2 from last week, right? CB Rush did cling to coming back and winning that one, so anything's possible. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens here shortly. Once we actually get backs and we buy our items.
Oh, but this is so scary now. Bar Jungle only is going to have danger even in their own territory here, as we see Rutledge come forward to help support Viego. Super Mega Death Rocket going to land wide, and both of these blue players are going to be able to get out of dodge pretty easily. We definitely have a health advantage for Lighthearted for the time being, so I think that Ari's going to have to play this a little bit safe. But the dominance across the map from CB Rush and the confidence that they have to just kind of go into enemy territory really is paying dividends. Kanaina, for instance, just going to walk forward, get the charm up on Snazzy to prevent them from getting Vision of River. And here is the Rift Herald charge in the mid lane. Not going to quite take that first tower, but it's going to provide plenty of distraction for CBR to just walk down here and grab themselves a second Drake of the game.
Yeah, and we're already sitting on a 7,000 gold lead. That's a pretty big gold lead. Flash having to get blown on the side of Lighthearted there from Kanaina, who, like, I didn't expect support Galio to really do as much work as it has so far, but I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, up there with Tarek, I really count Galio as one of these champions that can do a great job responding to tanky engage style supports. You really want to play a bit more reactively, I think, than Kanaina does if you want to try this in your regular games, because you're able to just kind of charm up anyone that hops in like a Leona or Nautilus, and from there go for a kill on the enemy support. But here, I feel that Kanaina is so confident that they're willing to actually use their taunt for aggressive purposes. They're getting solid engages down onto Steel Thief and Snazzy, and given the fact that we've also been seeing some attention bot side from Rutledge and company, it means that CBR has kind of walked away with this game in terms of its momentum.
Yeah, you know, we thought that the first blood was kind of I thought that maybe it was going to be the cadence of this game, but then all of a sudden afterwards, Rush just decided to turn it up another notch.
No, they just saw opportunities around the map, and I think Lancers got a little bit antsy. They really wanted to try to force some of these plays. We saw topside Snazzy go in alongside Hito to try to respond to Noble attempt, but this champion just held firm, held fast. Meanwhile, Cade actually going to go in onto Bard Jungle only. There is Call of the Forge God being used. It will not get the knockup, as we will see Bard Jungle only use their ultimate to try to get away. But now the body is in the hands of Cade, and Hito is the one getting engaged on. There's the Heartbreaker. It will be a Hextech ultimatum in return. Kanaina going to ultimate forward here, but not catch out the Camille. This is a lot of members topside of the map, and the fight's only going to continue now. Lighthearted getting melted down, and that's with Percy and CBR Rutledge coming up topside of the map. They want to help support the rest of their team, maybe try to grab a tower or something. Snazzy and Steel Thief all the way back at the tier 2.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Cade to the 4th power, just leaving the ward up. Don't care if you have vision. Guess what that was.
Yeah, there's a hook forward onto Kanaina. You got to be careful, though, because if you wait a little bit too long and you see the turret get taken down by Noble attempt, you kind of just started the fight for yourself right there, Snazzy. So for sure, you have to be worried. You have to make aggressive plays, don't get me wrong, but that one right there is not something you want to take. This Ornn is so powerful, the Sunfire Aegis.
Yeah, Ornn's a good pick, like I was saying in Chance Select, right? Like I mean, Ornn is a Forge God. I don't know. You're never gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, and he's forging a win so far for CBR, that's for sure.
That is true.
That was a pretty low level pun. I apologize, Feed.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay. You couldn't see my reaction because you don't have vision of my cam right now, but it hurt.
Hextech Soul will be what is on the table here for both teams, and in turn, these gates actually allow for pretty aggressive plays like we're currently witnessing. Kanaina going to work as the front line, get the taunt down on Tabar Jungle Only, who will use their ultimate in kind. 4 members of Lancers are here to try to D-push away, but Blue Squad just want more. There's a charm going to down off the King, and that is their ticket in. There's going to be a bunch more CC come through, though, for Lancers. This is where they want to turn things around right under the turret, but it might not be enough. It's too little, too late, as the triple kill comes through for Percy.
And just all the while, Steel Thief trying to hold off Noble Attempt. But just Noble Attempt taking tower hits and not really caring.
Yeah, this is so rough for Lancers. You're pulling the wrong people away from the rest of your team. You can't really just have Steel Thief all alone there to try to push back against the might of a Ornn who is this far ahead in gold, Feedonomics. You are putting people on the wrong side of the map and getting punished heartily for doing so. 3 kills, another tower, and just more gold now over to CB Rush. They've eclipsed 12,000 in the lead here at not even 17 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of looking at the side of, like, I'm just looking at items right now, right? Because I hadn't yet. I was giving it a little bit more time, and that's like a 15-16 minute 4-0 Yasuo who's now 7-0.
Yeah. The game has fully been ran away with, let's be honest here.
Yeah, it's a little runaway. It's a Bon Jovi song. It's looking glum. All you can really do on the side of Lancers Esports right now is sort of turtle. Yep. I would think the turtling is the best way to do it. The old Evil Genius comp idea. It's the strat we're going for. Dragon gets stolen by Cade. Well, I mean taken by Cade, not really stolen, but he was in the danger zone for a second. Just heartbreakers over the wall.
Yeah, you're able to use your ultimates pretty freely now. Not only are you beginning to really itemize up here on this champion, but you just have so many people kind of backing you, and you are not the carry at all. With only 1 kill onto the Viego, you have funneled so much over to Percy and company that, yeah, why not just Heartbreaker? You're not doing the damage. Percy will just come through and mop up whatever you do here, so just go for those objectives, make sure that everyone has the buffs that they need to progress, and continue to act as a supportive jungler here, which is, you know, a pretty rare thing to say about a Viego. Shelly being dropped top side of the map. They are going to get a charge and start cracking open these inhibitor towers. Not able to take the top side down one just quite yet, but that pressure just so scary. And Noble Attempt, not even with the team, happy to once again split this bot side.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just Noble's gonna go wherever he wants right now. It does look like we have a fight though.
Yeah, hook down, Snazzy trying to get someone fought here, and that is going to be a solid knockup though from Kanaina, and he's going to go deep into enemy territory right there to try to get some taunts up. Call of the Forge God doing a lot of damage. A shutdown finally going to go over to the side of Lancers, but so many members of the team are falling in kind. Steel Thief trying to huddle under this tower, will sidestep through a charm. Meanwhile, on the far side, Camille trying to back outside of vision, but this is all the while CBR Rush just going through, knocking out these turrets. They're going to try to grab inhib here.
Yeah, and I mean, they should be able to get in without much resistance, right? Kayn is up in 7 seconds, but I don't think it's enough to actually stop them. Though, I have been wrong in the past. Let's see if I'm wrong in the future.
Yeah, and it actually looks like Cade wants more. He's going to W on to Snazzy, and the Nautilus will fall. The fight still continues here. So many people just getting melted down. I think it might be actually be seeing the end of the game here, Feedonomics, as CBR just completely unperturbed. Finally, a shutdown will be picked up by the Vex, but it is 1v3 in the base. And I think that Rush are just happy to walk back bot side of the map, grab some more gold away from these turrets, and then back with the spoils of war here.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know. Gold lead's still 14,000 gold at the moment. That's
a lot.
that's a lot of gold. You're not wrong. that is basically, that's a couple of items worth, I think.
Yeah, I think at this point, Lancers just kind of have to give up the ghost. I'll be 100% honest. There are means by which players are able to get back into games with huge gold leads on the line, but typically that manifests in the very late game when the death timers are long enough for you to get one solid fight in and then just run it down mid to take away the Nexus. Here, at 20 minutes, you're just so far behind that you're able to just spread across the map as CB Rush and grab kills wherever you so desire. And meanwhile, Lancer's deathballing has not really worked. You're past the point where your champions aren't able to 1v2 or 1v3 now, so you need a full commit as 5 in order to try to punish anyone from their side. We'll see if that happens here. Onto CBR Rutledge. Hextech Ultimatum going to be utilized. Noble attempt in the area. He's going to continue to tank people. Will not be able to save the Ahri, but is going to get quite a bit of damage in on his own. Snazzy trying to run away here. Will finally get locked down by the enemy team, and that is 2 kills picked up by Lancers. So, you know, maybe everything I was saying right there just ends up being a bit of a caster's curse. I don't know if they're going to be able to take the Baron, though. They need to watch out for their base feed.
Well, they get the Baron right here, right? But do they lose the game in kind?
Yeah, this seems a bit aggressive by them to stay. I mean, there's only 2 people to defend, and Lighthearted is going to die. Make that 1 now as we see the last member of Lancers, who is currently staying at base, walk back and try to heal at Fountain now. Sassy going to hook forward and will be able to grab out Cade, but it will not be enough to stop one of the Nexus turrets from falling. Cade going to continue to run, going into the mist here. Hito's giving chase, though, and there is the W getting stopped by a solid leg kick. That's quite a bit of slowing going on, but Viega was able to trade back quite a damage in kind. There is the exhaust coming down. I don't think that this champion's going to be able to make it out alive, and I'm not sure about Kanaina going in either here. Percy in the area, though, did use her last breath to try to come in, but this is quite the split fight. I think we might be seeing the turn necessary for Lancers to get back into this one. The shutdown going over to Red Squad, and now Rutledge sent on the run will have to go back towards the river to find the waiting arms of Noble attempt. There we see the Everfrost being utilized. The dash forward. Hito, though, going to stay alive. Finally, Steel Thief coming online, doing quite a bit of damage in kind. Flame Choppers coming out, will not be able to pin anyone down. Snazzy going to get locked, but I think Noble Attempt is going to have to wait on the periphery of this one as Lancers pick up quite a few kills and nab themselves the dragon that would have been sold for CB Rush. Quite a bit of over-eagerness on the blue squad here. They made some bad calls, and in kind, you suddenly have Baron buff over onto Lancers. You have a bunch of bounties to claim, and you have a way back into this game.
That gold lead got cut about in half.
Yeah.
Actually. We're only sitting at an 8,000 gold lead at this point. It is basically 7.5.
And I mean,
So, yeah,
that's still
cut in
nightmarish, but clearly
I mean,
this
it's
is
not as nightmarish as 14.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, I think that what this is saying, though, is that CB Rush are mortal in this game, though. They are able to make mistakes, and clearly their hubris has costed them so far. They still definitely are in the driver's seat, but if they continue to play like that, there is a way for Lancers to actually answer back and get this game under control.
It depends on what happens here, right? If this In Heaven turret falls, like, I don't know. There would have to be a lot more aces to make this, like, just an easy game for them to crawl back in. They do have to deal with double super minions if they fall here in a moment.
One thing to note is the fact that the zoning potential is so great from CBR that a lot of these minions are losing the Baron buff once they get into range of Blue Squad, and so you aren't actually able to push out super well as Lancers as long as Rush is laying siege to your team. And we see the inhibitor slowly begin to reform here in the mid lane, and that is where we're going to see a refocusing of pressure from blue team. Everyone is trying to clear out the wave. Snazzy goes in, though, will get charmed up, and Kanaina going forward, trying to get down some control of his own. Percy already pretty low, getting mobbed quite well. Bar Jungle only will be able to pick that kill up. Cade also exceptionally low, gets Hextech Ultimatum, will be able to steal a body, though, and continue this fight going forward here. There's another Heartbreaker. Snazzy will fall the double-double so far for Kanaina, and it is now a 3-4-3. Knockup will be had against Bar Jungle, only Kanaina going in as well, but in turn, this Kane is actually bruising people up and healing in kind. It will be tough for Noble attempt to actually get through that last little bit of health. forward, and somehow the Kane gets out alive. We'll be able to dash back over the wall, and things once again turn out favorable for the Lancers. They are able to save their base and save the game.
Yeah, it's really well played on the side of Lancers. This is kind of like the Percy on Twitch situation, right? Like, right now, they just do everything that they can to click on Yasuo in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And if Yasuo's dead, they kind of have issues finishing off the damage needed to basically close the game out.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels that, like, once CB Rush gets a lead, they kind of revert back to bronze level macro calls where they just kind of deathball as 5 and hope to pick a fight somewhere. But Lancers, they seem pretty ready for it. They understand that they therefore will have initiative to try to go for engages. They know that CBR will try to follow up if any single one of their members gets caught out. And in turn, Snazzy's been hitting some fantastic dredge lines to start things off, and as you're talking about there, right there, Feedonomics, as long as you get Percy dead early on, you actually have a way by which to answer back and equalize the game.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree with you there. But Ornn items are starting to come out now.
Yeah.
Eternal Winter is on RA. And that is compared to Eternal Winter on... I'm sorry, Everfrost on the side of Vex, so...
Yeah, and I mean, given how close quarters these fights have been, I really think Everfrost is going to be a huge player going forward. Getting the extra root duration that you're actually able to grab from the ornament, I think, is going to be crucial. But I mean, we've seen Lancers overcome gold deficits bigger than this. I don't think that the Ornn items answer back up to the 14k gold lead that CBR had at one point. So you just have to play a bit cleaner if you actually want to come through and win this game quickly here. Rush are actually kind of letting this one drag on and letting the Jinx scale up in kind.
Yeah, but I'm even looking at the Jinx items, right? And still sitting only at 1. Once that Infinity Edge is done, maybe it's a different story. But you have to get past the crits.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting situation on the board right now. We are seeing the Baron come up in about 10 seconds. It's also 15 seconds until Hextech Dragon spawns. And so it might be a handshake of objectives coming through for these teams. We are seeing CBR push back into the topside river, but everything is already all kind of warded up for Lancers. So they're going to have a bit of priority. And if we see a bad call come through, Rush could be in a 4v5 as Cade is bot side trying to claim Soul.
No handshake, only fist fight.
Oh, Snazzy going to go down early in this one, and that's a really solid call of the Forge God getting the triple knock-up. Steel Thief in the backline getting heavily contested. There's the double-double once again for the Galio. Bar Jungle only will not be able to resist this time around. The support somehow gets a triple kill, and with that, CBR says, all right, guys, we had our fun, but we want this game over. They're going to claim what is virtually an ace here. Only Hito left alive. They're going to run this one down mid and hopefully end the game.
Yeah, I'm sure that we get to see the GGs come out for real this time. The surrender vote coming down on the side of Lancers Esports, they know what's going to happen from that. And that was a 4v5. Like, that they just won in that team fight.
Yeah, I think that finally CBR kind of got their act together. They could have won those 4v5s or even probably a 3v5 earlier on here, Feedonomics. That's just what their gold lead indicated to me. It just became a matter of not great positioning and I think a willingness to kind of go in after a play had already been made. And because of that, they were punished early on. Finally, though, they realized we got to wisen up, and they took what was eventually something very advantageous for themselves here. They kind of baited Lancers into an aggressive play. They knew that we were going to be getting a 4v5. Cade was bot side and that this was their best chance. And it was not enough because of how dominant the early laning phase was for CBR. So they will go up 1-0 in this series. But some stress cracks were there for sure. Things were pretty dominant, but when you're in such a position and you are the king, you begin to make some pretty unwise decisions, and maybe Lancers will be able to better capitalize on that in the future.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
That's so heavy you don't even so heavy your head is looking down and not looking forward at your pathway to victory, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
well,
I'm looking at gold difference, and I don't know. Steel Thief was the richest person on the side of Lancers Esports, right? And I don't know. Actually, it was Top and Jungle on the side of CB Rush that had the least amount of gold on their team. Their support won out. I'm pretty impressed by Kanaina there.
Yeah, Kanaina, I think really, really solid choice going for the Galio that game. I think that broad decision in the draft phase has really kind of defined the pace of this one. And therefore, I'm happy to give them a clap on the back. I think that the Yasuo Galio lane worked out far better than we could have either hoped for here for Economics. We're definitely a little bit of doubters, but we've been turned around. And overall, I've been just very happy with the way in which CBR has been approaching these games. Even last week, they took it to a 5-game series, eventually won out in that one. And from there, I think that they clearly have kind of reviewed the tapes and realized, hey, we have the potential to win this, and we can win this fast. Let's just make sure that we don't freak out and just drop the ball. So with that in mind, we'll see how they translate that theme over as we move deeper on into the series. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we return, it will be draft phase for game number 2.
To hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of the world that we defy. A soul ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division. We are here with the semifinals match between CB Rush and Lancers Esports. CBR took a pretty dominant game number one. They kind of dropped the bag a few times right there, but they were 14k gold ahead at one point, so they were able to make a few of those mistakes feed. We'll see if they're able to clean their act up. And meanwhile, Lancers gonna kind of have to go back to the drawing board here, I feel. That dominant early game in that laning phase, especially for Percy and Kanaina, just put their enemies way too far ahead. So hopefully they'll try to orient themselves a little bit differently in this one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Kind of like the respect ban on Percy's Yasuo coming out immediately. And then it kind of looks like we're following the same ban cadence. So it makes sense. We'll see what happens. Ornn getting banned out on the side of Lancers too. They don't want to see Noble on that. It was pretty strong as well. And then Viego, not wanting Viego to be first pick on the side of Lancers. Okay, so they steal Ahri instead. It's fine, we'll play your champions. That's the logic that we have here.
Yeah, and I think we're basically getting a whole new team for both sides in this case. So many of CB Rush's champions from game number one just out the window. The Viego gone, the Ornn gone, and the Yasuo taken. Ahri also similarly snapped up and stolen away to go into the hands of Lighthearted this time. And we'll see what the response is. Rush taking a bit of time to decide, eventually locking in that Orianna. I really like this pick. Not super common, but I think it should be. That shockwave against champions that are as mobile as Ahri, absolutely fantastic. Chef's kiss, pats on the back all the way to Flavortown.
Tried and true. I technically think of her as Boreanna. Just because she's... I don't know. Orianna's really kind of like a... I'm going to play this game, but I'm also going to put on lo-fi music and just farm. That's kind of how I look at it.
Different definitions of what's exciting. I love this champion.
I'm just saying her laning phase is pretty much I'm just going to farm. Like, if you want to play it that way, you can just sit there and QW waves all day, baby. But it does look like we've got a ball delivery system already with the side of CB... like Rush picking up Leona.
Yeah, I really like Leona as a pick. The Blitzcrank as a response, that's pretty interesting to see. Typically, you see this grabbed for an Enchanter style lane, but clearly Snazzy pretty happy to go for this champion, and we'll just have to be a little bit more selective of how they place their hooks there.
Yeah, I like the Kaisa pickup too. It is a pretty... like, we've already got a lot of ways to enable her in the team fights with a charm, with a hook or a knock-up. I don't remember if a silence actually, like, allows her to ult to you, but, you know, be another method if that was the choice, too. But we'll see what we have for last pick on the side of Ruby. Maybe the bot lane? I assume that you finished out with the bot lane here. Yep, there you go, Tristana. Little Bandle Scout, up 2, 3, 4.
Hey, I really like this pick. I think it's a solid response to the Blitzcrank Kaisa lane that Lancers has drafted for themselves. You're able to play pretty aggressive early on. You still do definitely care about getting hooked, as that is a fantastic engage for the blue squad, but you're able to be a little bit more reactive to it than some other champions. You can rocket jump away, or you could just take this as the opportunity to really start laying down the damage. Obviously, you power spike late as well, but early on, you are a tiny terror to behold, especially when combined up with the Leona to just help you stay in it. So with that in mind, we move through into the secondary ban phase. Kayn going to get knocked out by CBR, which is kind of interesting to me. I didn't think that Bard Jungle only performed particularly well on that champion last game, and so I'd be happy to see it kind of come back, especially as it's definitely something we see oriented a little bit more towards solo queue here instead of the coordinated play that we come through with the Blue Otter League.
Maybe, I would just argue that with Kayn, it's maybe a Lancer comfort pick, right? So you're shaking things up and you're making it a little bit more difficult for them to fill out their roster on something they enjoy. So we'll see how it turns out. Another fun fact that we didn't bring up on the side of Tristana is she can actually Q rocket jump to dodge the hook. As far as if the hook lands, the leap will disjoint it.
Oh, I totally forgot about that
Totally
interaction.
forgot about that. Come on, Ezreal and Tristana. I don't know if another AD can do it, but those two definitely can.
Yeah, Percy, though, gonna have to be sharp on that reaction time. I think that's a pretty tight window in which you're actually actionable and able to kind of cancel out the rocket grab. So totally doable, but also it's going to be a matter now of Snazzy not only have to play around position, but also having to play around cooldowns for the Vandal Gunner, which is not really the position you want to be in. Hitting your hooks is hard enough. Trying to make sure that you do it at the right time just makes it doubly more so impactful. Darius, the lock-in to go for Hito most likely. That's not something you see every day.
Oh, and the Shyvana jungle on the side of Lancers as well, because it's
Spicy.
probably not going to be a Darius jungle and a and the Shyvana top. I guess it could be. It could be, but it won't be. I do kind of like Rush's comp a lot right now, right? Like, Orianna definitely will have an easy time landing shockwaves if Leona goes in, or if Nocturne just goes flying by, catches an orb, and then has everyone shockwaved on top, and then you follow it up with a top lane Nocturne or a top lane Volibear. You've got one more way that leap to land in. This is my chef's kiss.
Yeah, I really like what CBR has gone for. They may have a little bit less lane dominance than what we witnessed last time around, but that team fighting potential is absolutely terrifying to behold. And this isn't to even say that they can't get some solo bolos or even really solid ganks off early on. Volibear hits level 6, deactivates the tower, Tristana rocket jumps in, and boy, you're cooking with gas, as they say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The side of CB Rush, I do, like I said, feel like the comp looks a little bit better to me. That being said, you could still take a run with it if you were on the side of Lancers. If you have your optimal hooks and Darius gets rolling before anybody else does, then Hito is going to have a field day.
Oh yeah.
Kaisa can put out a lot of damage. And it's mixed. It's not even the same way. I assume that we're gonna have Shyvana not going like AD Bruiser, but going AP instead. So there's a whole lot of magic damage on the side of Lancers. Actually, looking at it and thinking about it now.
It's also relatively flexible damage too, right? Kaisa does have multiple builds, can go for a mixed AP style, or can just go for a straight AD build. And while it is most likely going to be the case that Shyvana will go AP, or at least I sure hope so, as I think it's far more powerful in the current meta, you can alternate, and you can therefore allocate damage where you feel people are beginning to kind of power spike, and that should hopefully help Lancers kind of coast into the mid game a little bit more smoothly. If someone fares not so great in laning phase, you could just kind of take some of the burden off of them with your itemization. That being said, Rush, I think, just such a beautifully actionable game plan. We talked about it before, the Wombo combo, the layering of CC, and the layering of damage all coming through here means that Lancers has to be particularly careful and use their movement abilities really wisely. One thing that I'm really worried about seeing here is someone like Shyvana or Ari getting caught out early on in a fight and being forced to burn their flash and ultimates in order to try to remove themselves from a sticky situation, because now you just have no way onto the backline. You can't actually turn off the damage that Orianna and Tristana will provide.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Also, something else that I just sort of blank noticed later into the game. There's no Jinx in this game. She wasn't banned out. I mean, I guess I get why Rush didn't lock it in. You don't want to get hooked as a Jinx. Nobody likes that. Maybe we just noticed that Jinx and Ari don't have a lot of fun with one another. As far as if Jinx gets charmed, she explodes. But I am excited to see a little bit of a change up in the ADs here this game.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in the Jinx Aphelios and then Jinx Xayah meta for so long. Any kind of shift away is something that I will celebrate till the cows come home, Feednomics. And, The Tristana especially, not really something you see a lot here. I like the fact that it was brought out as a response to the Blitzcrank. And so with that in mind, there's going to be a whole heaping tablespoon of aggression from CBR that you're going to have to contend with. But you know who's going to have the first means by which to secure a kill? It's 100% Lancers. And I think that when we go back to our classic question, it's not a question of, oh, who's going to get first blood? It's a question of, are Lancers going to get first blood off of the inevitable Blitzcrank invade that will 100% occur?
Nope. I don't think it's
You
gonna
don't think
happen.
so?
I think they get away with it, and then the kill happens mid.
Ooh.
That's my guess. It's happening mid on the side of Rush.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think that CBR, they are going to, batten down the hatches and prepare for the invade, and they will stand tall, stand firm, and someone is still going to die because that's just what Blitzcrank can do.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll see what happens, or we could have it to where they kind of sniff out the early invade and they just walk away from it. Just walk away. Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens. We are going to go ahead and let's not quite let me cut myself off before I say we're gonna go to break. Which comp do you like more this game, Narco?
I really like CBR's comp. I think that the changeup is much appreciated from Lancers, just in terms of they clearly understand that they're going to have to shift their game plan away from what they were trying to enact in game number 1. But a broad improvement does not really answer back against what I think CBR has brought up for themselves, which is just an absolutely disgusting set of combinations to occur. You could Solar Flare into Shockwave. You can just get Leona hopped in there to follow up on a Nocturne engage. You can have Volibear ulting towers and follow that up with Nocturne. It's all just fantastic, and I really love the kind of explosive plays that this team will be able to produce, and hopefully they will pop off with it here. That being said, what about yourself?
I think that I like the Shockwave delivery system as well. It kind of feels a little bit better. The Lancers comp kind of feels like a we're gonna crush solo queue comp. Looking at those champions, you have a Blitzcrank and a Kaisa and a Darius. So I don't think that those will translate as well together in team fights either.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, we're just gonna find out when the game actually starts. You said first blood off the invade. I said first blood mid because Orianna gets help from either the jungler or the support. And all that I gotta say is don't go anywhere. We got game 2 of the semifinals happening here on the Plat side of the Blue Otter League, and we're gonna take a short break. We appreciate you spending your time with us. Welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum League semifinals between CBR Rush and Lancer Esports. Gonna get into the game immediately with a flash from Snazzy and a response flash back from Percy. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's not the worst time to get a flash out of Tristana once they hit level 2. But on the other hand, it's nice to have that. It's nice to have that flash, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that honestly, CBR was going to be hard pressed to not give up at least one summoner spell. Blitzcrank is just so happy to force any considerable fight here in the early game. And so with that in mind, while ADC Flash being gone is kind of painful, this is a storm that you can in fact weather a little bit, Feed. So given the fact that you're able to 5-point and you're able to just get vision elsewhere on the board as a response, I think that this is about as preferable as a start as you could get from Red Squad when you're up against Snazzy.
Yeah, and looking at everything, the bot lane is running the tried and true safe exhaust cleanse combo when you're dealing with so many CCs that are on the side of Rush for Lancers Esports. But I do kind of like the summoner spells on the side of CBR, right? Like you have the exhaust and the ignite. We don't need heal where we're going. We don't need res.
I would tend to agree with this summoner spell choice, and the reason behind that is you need an offensive summoner spell on Kanaina in order to just kind of work through the fact that Percy is going to get immediately exhausted as soon as the fight starts. So having that burst of damage is going to be super valuable. Percy, meanwhile, going for the exhaust here is going to be utilized not only as a pick tool, but also just as a means by which to counteract Steel Thief if Snazzy wants to fight. So it will pull double duty, kind of working as a pseudo heal in that respect. And it just makes sense, you know. It just feels good, as you would say. Rutledge walking forward here very aggressively up against Lighthearted, has the wave advantage and has the health with which to boot. So they will try to get a poke down where possible. Yeah, for sure.
Oriana sitting there asking why they're running right now. Why are they running?
Why are they running?
Oof. These balls are on point.
Mm-hmm.
As we do, like, still waiting for that next grab attempt, right? Are we gonna have Shyvana like roam down here after they clear their Krugs? Oof. Apprehend. That trade's not going the best for Noble. They're gonna try and all in him here.
Yeah, the flash is available for the Volibear, and Cade is in the area to answer right back, but Hito, so scary, going to grab first blood, and I think Nocturne will just have to back off here. Darius, such a powerhouse here in the early game.
Yeah, like that was really good on the side of Hito to make sure that he won that out. Both summoner spells blown in the top side for both laners though, so we'll see if anybody tries to come back and gank immediately. Kind of a neutral trade of the scuttles that aren't really important in League of Legends anymore.
Well, it is so weird. It is so weird how de-emphasized that has been. Lighthearted going super low, will be ignited and killed by CBR Rutledge, but will not be able to trade back damage in kind onto the Oriana, so the solo bolo to be had for CBR. They will answer back now. 1 kill to 1, and very, very even gold right there.
Yeah, it's just too much damage right there. That was pretty strong. But it looks like the hook attempt. There it is! I told you!
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I am fine with Percy losing the flash early. It's obviously not preferable, but when your main means of engage bot side of the map, barring a gank from Bar Jungle only on Shyvana, who just wants to power farm anyways, is that rocket grab, you are able to cancel it pretty fantastically with a rocket jump of your own. Hito now in a bit of trouble. Bar Jungle only, though, coming right back up in order to prevent Volibear for getting a revenge kill topside of the map. And they're just going to assist with the Darius pushing this wave in.
But that damage... Like, yikes!
Yeah, you can't stay within the Storm God's reach in those kinds of situations, that's for sure. Volibear, pretty happy, just going to farm it up and try to answer back for that early kill that Hito was able to bring to the table. Does, in fact, have the CS advantage, and meanwhile, a lot of priority on the bot side of the map means that Rush will grab first dragon for themselves. Things still looking pretty favorable for the red side right now. I think that they are playing this early game pretty fantastically.
Yeah, no, it was just unlucky on the side of First Blood, most likely. I mean, very well played by Hito. But if Noble had tried to run away like a little sooner, I think that it would have gone the other way, with Nocturne roaming up to sort of counter it. But at the moment,
yeah, Noble Attempt may be in trouble. The Apprehend is going to land, and Noble Attempt kind of wavers right after the fact. He wanted to see if he could go in onto the Darius, but because Bar Jungle only was positioned so aggressively, they will just walk up through Tri-Bush and help bring this champion up to a 2-0 top side of the map for the Lancers.
And this is what I was talking about, right? If Darius gets ahead, and whenever like moseys into a team fight, ooh, that landed.
Yeah, the rocket jump is going to land. Kanaina finds the opportunity to go in, though, and will continue to push up against Steel Thief. Lots of damage going down onto the Kaisa, the Ignite, alongside the bombs. But Percy, seeing blood in the water, tries to go in, but is not able to finish off their fellow ADC. Will fall in turn, and now does the Leona running away. But Snazzy, playing patient, was able to get Rocket Grab right back up there. And in turn, it will be both bot laners falling for CB Rush.
Yeah, really, really well-timed flash by Steel Thief there to make sure that Tristana didn't have enough to actually land lethal. So, hats off. Well played there. CB Rush will have to play like a little bit safer as they kind of, get that reset to lick their wounds.
Yep.
As it were.
Feed, I feel like I've been getting turbo cursed these last few games with my calls, I was just saying, Red Squad, they were playing pretty well here in the early game, but a series of bad plays, and in turn, they are going to go down 4-1, and they are sitting at about 1,000 gold deficit at 7 minutes.
Obviously, you should just retire. Just hang it up. Ooh, the engage.
Yeah, Rutledge in quite a bit of trouble here. Will get charmed up by the Ahri. There's the ultimate from Bar Jungle only as well. And as Orianna has gotten dogpiled, back to the scrapyard with you.
Yeah, there's not much you can do there. It was a good attempt by Kanaina to force that flash from the Ahri, but Ahri doesn't. It's kind of like Tristana, right? Ahri doesn't really care about flash when she's level 6. She's just gonna ult away and then ult right back in.
Yes, I love Season 12.
There's so much movement. I didn't even look at the CS right now, though. Oh.
Yeah, ultimate from Cade down onto Shyvana in order to force them off of the red buff. Will go over to the Nocturne. Kanaina, though, lagging behind. It's going to get punished for doing so, shielding right back up. There's the knockup, though, from Snazzy. And those attacks from Lighthearted are going to help melt down this champion. Percy just kind of has to come to the crime scene and watch in horror as the support is taken out right in front of their very eyes.
Yeah, but what I was trying to comment on that I didn't get a chance to, like I said, look at the CS difference in mid. That's a lot of CS.
Yeah, I mean, they've completely offset the fact that there are kills elsewhere on the map, right? Clearly, there is a total gold lead over for Lancers, but this Orianna is going to scale up nicely and is able to really kind of tamp down on Lighthearted's ability to just kind of burn through the enemies. And they, therefore, are going to struggle to do their job here as we move into the mid-game. Nobleton getting apprehended once again, but wants to take this fight. Hito going it down to about half health here. And Volibear will be happy just grabbing their CS under tower.
Voli's doing a great job. Noble is making sure that he gets hit by the stick on that axe instead of the axe. So that heal really isn't that effective. And it's hard to fight somebody in a duel when you take damage while they get a shield.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So they do win those short duration fights. And we'll have to see how that plays out going further once Hito does finish their I don't know. Yeah, that's a Trinity Force. I was gonna say I don't know if it's a Strider, and then I'm looking at the Sheen, like I don't know what he's gonna buy here. Nah, I figured it out. Crack the code. That's gonna be a Trinity Force because why wouldn't it be? Though for Volibear, I don't know what they're gonna end up going for. Ooh, Charm landing on Rutledge, but
Yeah, this is the scary thing. After a certain point, unless you're really able to just get burst damage down on Ahri, the charm matters a whole lot less without someone to back you up. And with that in mind, Rutledge able to stand pretty firm there in the mid lane. One thing I want to note is that we do have the Ocean Drake standing up, but neither team is going for it right now. I just think that the CBR wants to be able to get the opportunity to go in, but they want to take place topside first. Cade going to ultimate down onto Hito. Volibear ultimate going to whiff both Hito as well as the tower, and this will be the turnaround fight. Huge ultimate coming through for Bar Jungle, only to lock down onto the Volibear. The god will run back towards tower though. Rift Herald has been summoned, and even though this tower is at full health, this income is going to be pretty nice for the Shyvana. But once again, attention pulled away from that dragon.
That I think all that money went to Hito.
Yeah, and it looks like he wants more. Noble attempt and a little bit of trouble. That being said, the Darius taking quite a few tower shots in kind topside of the map. And we have Orianna in the area, maybe getting a little bit caught out though on the far side, stuck in river. Will try to throw their ball down, but is not going to be enough to stop anyone from collapsing down onto them. There is Foxfire, and one auto is gonna do ya. Bar Jungle only gonna pick that one up.
Yeah, it was unlucky to get caught out there. Almost fancy footwork to avoid getting hit by that charm and everything, but still not quite enough there.
Okay, going to get silenced and pulled right in. I don't understand why they called to go into river right there, but CBR in a whole lot of trouble this game. The gold lead is only continuing to expand for the Lancers as ultimate topside of the map will bring them yet another kill. It's a reversal of game number one, Feed.
It's a complete 180 of game one is exactly what I was about to say too, Narco. Wow, great minds think alike. But we have seen a game 2 like this for CB Rush in the past.
Oh gosh, don't remind me. Those were slugfests.
We watched it happen. If there's any team that would be able to come back from a deficit like this, it's CB Rush.
Snazzy going to run forward, will with the rocket grab down onto Kanaina, who, as the Leona, will prance happily back towards that tower. They don't want to give up any more kills at this point. The gold lead is something that you can answer back against, especially due to your CS leads that you're seeing form there, especially in the jungle and mid lane. But I don't know, man. 9 kills to 1 feels more of a statement than any amount of gold difference ever could be. Stun going out on a steel beam. I love the positioning from Bar Jungle only. They will ult onto this team. And there we see Percy fall. That's a huge source of damage. Now gone. Kanaina soon to follow. And K gonna have to try to book it out of here. But that is so hard to do when you have a blitz carrying grab and left, right, and center. 3 more for the Lancers.
Bar Jungle timing their dragon ascent perfectly. The interrupt on Leona as she was catching over on her was really nice. Actually, it's fun to watch. I enjoyed that. For those of you playing at home, that was fun.
Not for CBR, it isn't.
Oh, it's not if you're CBR, but that's expected. Chicken Bacon Ranch is not having much fun this game at all.
Yeah, no, they are getting cooked, that's for sure. They have a way back into this. We've talked about it before, but now a 5k gold lead, that's starting to get iffy.
Yeah, it's starting to climb there, but like I said, that other game, they came back from a 10k deficit, so...
Oh my gosh, Snazzy just staying right on top of Kanaina. There's a Zenith Blade to land down onto Ahri, and somehow the Leona going to try to get their way out of this one. Rutledge having to flash back now that Snazzy turns their attention towards the mid laner. But Lighthearted so low that Lancers aren't able to continue this fight, so things will end up pretty neutral once again.
That was a really good Zenith Blade. from Kanaina to land onto the RA to gain the distance to walk far enough away.
Yeah, totally. I really like how Kanaina has been playing. Last game, I think that they were quite the MVP. This time around, you know, they've been pretty pressured early on. They've been taking a lot of damage, but when push comes to shove, they will take a lot of really solid plays. Teleport being channeled will not be in time to save the Tristana, and so Volibear is going to enter into an empty lane. Tries to use the speed boost that comes from that summoner spell to maybe walk up towards Snazzy and Steel Thief, but these two already making it back towards tower, where they are going to have to stay for at least a little while, as 4 members of a Rush are going to come and try to answer back for their fallen comrade.
Speaking of tower, first tower taken out by Lancer Esports.
Yeah, Hito so fed right now. Alongside the Shyvana, these are the 2 champions that you really don't want to have such a huge gold lead. Obviously, their bounties are going to be super valuable, especially if CBR are able to get those onto the right person. Noble attempt, though, trying to take the 2v1, and I'm not really sure for what, as we see Snazzy help pick up the kill for Steel Thief. CBR Rutledge, meanwhile, in the mid lane, just going to get hit by a few more auto attacks, a few more REQs, and in turn, they will fall. That gold lead from early on, that CS difference that we're seeing, kind of evaporating in the hands of CBR.
Yeah, you know, obviously, if it's evaporating on one end, it's growing on the other. So, so right now, all of the misplays on the side of Rush are just watering the plant that is Lancer Esports.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure what their game plan has been. They've just been super disorganized and giving kills over, where in a Platinum League, I just wouldn't expect them to do so.
Yeah, I would assume that. I don't know. I would feel like everybody's comp at this point, and like your strategy would be survive. but it doesn't quite seem to be coming to fruition at the moment.
Yeah, and when you're up against a team like Lancers, who are just so easily able to punish mispositions with Ari Charm or Blitzcrank Power Grab, you really have to start wisening up and trying to get back into this game by just playing a bit safer than what you're currently doing. Noble attempt really probably needs to just kind of walk with waves a bit more, and similarly, Percy Kanaina probably need to stay together for the time being.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. We have that was a big amount of followed up by more damage.
Yeah, Rutledge is going to fall to start this one off. Bard Jungle only walking forward alongside Lighthearted. There's the ultimate force out of Noble attempt to try to get away from Hito. He will turn around, get the Lightning Storm down onto the Darius. That bleed passive so powerful. The flash into base. Clearly this top laner is confident that they're going to be able to take the fight deeper on against CBR, and he will run his way out of that one with the help of Snazzy. The collapse is beginning though for Red Squad. Cade going a bit too deep right there. Bard Jungle only with the damage, going to answer back in kind. Kanaiga going down. Kaisa popping off and helping for the double with Bard Jungle only.
Yeah, and this, like we said, I don't know if they come back from this one, Narco.
I don't think that they do, Feed. I don't think that they do.
Yeah, that was a little rough on that team fight there. Hito. Once, like, we're gonna talk about a steam engine.
He's
like
chugging along.
A locomotive of a top laner. Once he gets going, can't be stopped. Saw that in the championship for the mid-season tournament on Mundo, right? Was just the size of the sun. In this game, they seem to be getting into the same scenario. You already have your Trinity Force finished. You're getting close to having your. It's just not looking good. 7-0 on Shyvana. Like this is literally the script flipped. It's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, it truly is. We aren't quite at that 10k gold gap that we saw come through in game number 1 here. But Lancers have proven that they're a little bit less apt to make mistakes. I think once they're in a lead, they so far haven't given a single kill back over to CBR, and in turn, every single one of their champions now has a bounty on them.
Here we go. We have Rift Herald just getting dropped mid lane.
Yeah, and look at how confident Snazzy is. The Shockwave, though, going to pull Bard Jungle only back alongside the Blitzcrank. He's going to go golden. Shelly Charge is going to knock down that turret and allow for Bar Jungle only to get out with their life intact. It is going to force the ultimate away from that champion, though. And so, while CBR does lose a tower and aren't able to pick up a kill, I think that's about as advantageous as you could take a fight right now.
Yeah, it's a situation where you're like, oh, we take those.
Oh, yes, no kill, no actual gold, and we still lose a neutral objective, but hey, at least we didn't all get aced.
Yeah, very much. That's the silver lining thought process play there. Not gonna lie.
Glass half full for CBR, that's for sure. They're going to need to keep that positivity in mind if they want to try to bring this one back. And right now, the only way you're going to do that is by capitalizing on mistakes that Lancers will make, hex gating over the wall. They are positioning quite aggressively here, so perhaps trying to find a pick on a split push or something like that and claiming a bounty will beat the snowball back that CBR needs. That being said, this is Lancers at 20 minutes taking the Baron on spawn. We'll see if the response is going to be had. Cade and Kanaina in the area, but no vision of the big purple worm. And I don't even know if they're aware of it happening.
Yeah, they may not have been there. But what do you have to just surrender that buff anyways, I think, if you're on the side of CB Rush.
Maybe. I feel that if you're Cade, you probably should just go for it, though. You aren't worth a whole lot of gold. You are 1-3, and your team desperately needs a ticket back into this.
Yeah, but I don't think stealing Baron's that ticket.
I mean, it's not necessarily grabbing the waves for yourself or like being able to get pushes going. It's denying the Baron away from the enemy team, who is just absolutely monstrous. And we've seen them play the siege game before. It's so hard to walk up to any turret that they're taking because of Snazzy.
Yeah, definitely right now you are true on that. Like that Blitzcrank being one of the first bans last game made a lot of sense now looking at Snazzy's Blitz, I'm not gonna lie. Even if the champion's like quote unquote easy to play, right?
I don't know if it is. I think Blitzcrank's actually pretty difficult.
I mean,
just mostly because you were so front-ended in terms of your influence on a fight. And I think that Snazzy has used the influence of the rocket grab to provide power even outside of just using that single ability. Look at how aggressively they posture, and look at how CBR scatters as a response.
Sometimes the deadliest hook is the one that's never thrown.
Yes, thank you, Master Yi. Ultimate going to go down onto this champion, though. Ultimate is going to be utilized, and Ari is in the area. Solar Flare, though, going to help slow these people down, and in turn, Nocturne will be able to pick up the shutdown against Blitzcrank, but Lighthearted, you know, staying at pretty high health, will focus Kanaina now. Ultimate over the wall by Noble Attempt. There's the shutdown against the Ari as well, but now the mob has truly formed for Lancers. The three remaining members going to grab a double-double, 4 kills in total for themselves. And in turn, there is the walk down mid, and there is the push that you need with Baron to really start wrapping this game up.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just unlucky that the ranged creep is just gonna chill out, right? That the ranged Baron minion's always so annoying because he just sits there. He's like, nah, man, I'm not gonna get hit by this. I'm too important.
Yeah, they Jay chilling over there. Meanwhile, Hito just going to ravage bot side of the map. And Bar Jungle only going to help themselves to every single buff that CBR has to offer. So right now, things all coming up for Blue Squad. They're also going to put themselves at soul point here with an uncontested Hextech Drake. And I just don't see a way back for Rush. I think that they just have to take this one on the nose and hopefully come back better and stronger in game number 3.
There is one way.
Which is
a Lancer's forfeit.
You know, they've done it before. Maybe someone will reflexively hit /FF, or you know, maybe the cat walks across the keyboard and it gets initiated, and because everyone has solo queue brain, they decide, you know what, I see the /FF vote and I'm gonna hit yes, and then they don't realize what they've done until it's already happened and the game is knocked out.
It'll be Yumi's biggest mistake.
I think a lot of people say Yumi's biggest mistake is existing, so.
Oh.
Yeah, it's also an off for me too. Oh, Noble Attempt is going to get caught out. Great vision play here from Bar Jungle only. But Percy is going to try to answer back alongside Kanaina. Noble Attempt, though, is going to just walk forward and die as he tries to help turn the fight around. Hito getting out with about half health. And that is plenty enough for the Darius to continue to push forward onto the top side.
Yeah, I think that Hito is just too big this game.
And I mean, not even to mention, look at a bar jungle only on the Shyvana. 7-0-8. Fantastic kill participation and great income for this champion. They are able to go for the Zhonya's Hourglass, just be a little bit more durable. Nice hook also landed. Kanaina will fall, and Percy having to rocket jump away, but it is going to be answered right back by an ultimate by Steel Thief. The double, in fact, coming through, and this will be the beginning of the end. If the story wasn't already closing, it will be Lancers taking game number 2 as they will knock down both of these inhibitors and maybe look for one more push into the base. Wait, really? They're not going to try to end? It's 3 people dead. What's going on?
No, you have the axe. The axe flips. We're going for the total domination kind of deal. This is like taking every single piece in a game of chess. It's sending a message.
And I had such a nice outro plan for them too, and they just decide, hey, Nyarko, is in the middle of the speech, but let's not end the game. Let's just take one more back.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get your items right. Sterix
You gotta get your items.
Last Whisper getting finished if you're Kaisa. The stopwatch for Ari, the all-powerful stopwatch. All the items that he had bought.
Stop! He's already dead.
This is beating a dead horse.
Yeah. And I mean, Baron's coming back up. They could just be waiting for that to ensure a clean push into the base. But there's only 2 towers up for CBR. I would just say, Lancers, do yourself a favor. Put CBR out of their misery in this game and just come back with a little bit more energy in game number 3 here. They're playing with their food at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, that can come back to bite you. But it doesn't really hurt that much when your opponent has no teeth.
Yeah, I think they have been thoroughly defanged, as it were, Feedonomics, and this is just going to be Blue Squad happily knocking down the second Baron Nashor of the game, all the while CB Rush having to contend with the push on all sides by these super minions.
Yeah, and I mean, here we go. We got our March. This is it, as Shaco would say. It's March.
We got our March, but it's April.
Ow.
I'm trying.
Ow.
All right, here's going to be the crash into the Nexus. This will be the last stand for CBR. They should probably try to initiate about now. We see the ultimate coming in from Nocturne, but it looks like he's just going to be the first to fall alongside Noble Attempt. Kanaina trying to walk their way back, but Seal Thief's just going to go legendary off of their corpse. The double being taken up here, and now it just becomes a matter of how many kills can Lancers stack up before the game ends. A lot of people just gonna run it down into Fountain, but there are 3 left, plenty with which to knock down this Nexus and bring us to game number 3.
Yeah, yeah, yikes. That was a dominant game too. Like, I don't know. I need a second to collect myself after that one. I want to see these gold totals kind of the same way I did last.
Yeah, for sure. Really interesting game number 2. I think that this really speaks series. Both teams have the potential. It's absolutely absurd, the gold ratios that we're seeing coming through. And so with that in mind, I said it for Lancers in game number 1, so I'm going to have to say it for CBR in game number 2. That game plan clearly didn't work. You got to go back to the drawing board here. We'll see what adjustments they can make. They've proven themselves to be a fantastically flexible team by given the fact they've gotten all the way to semifinals. So I'm sure they will answer in kind. We're going to have a banger of a game number 3. We're going to throw it to a quick break.
Ooh.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division. We are here in the semi-final rounds, this time between Lancers and CB Rush. We've been seeing some banger games so far. Both teams have taken commanding leads and walked it all the way to victory. So in this 1-1 bracket, we'll see how these teams respond and adjust. Feednomics, what do you want to see out of this game?
Well, I've already seen what I wanted to see out of it, and that was going back to the Blitzcrank ban. So let's see. Gwen getting banned out. Don't want to see top lane Gwen. Hito. Maybe really scary on that champion too. We don't get to see to find out yet. And then let's see. Have another Xayah ban, so we don't want to see Xayah on the side of Lancers either. Ornn and Ahri getting banned out because we're not after that first pick for either of those two champions. So we'll see if a Jinx gets picked up first for the side of Rush. But yeah, we'll have to find out. Nope, it's Viego again. I like Viego. Viego did work out well for them, kind of as a supporty jungler. So we'll see if he can actually take over as like the carry this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cade has been doing a really good job of just adjusting to team plan, but one thing has not changed. They like their bruiser and brawler junglers, like the Viego this time around. Same thing that we saw in game number 1, maybe trying to make magic happen again, make lightning strike twice. But speaking of which, Lancer's going to go back to the Kai'Sa this time, bringing in the Nautilus as their lane partner.
Yeah, Kai'Sa was really strong. Nautilus is a like I had talked about earlier. I just feel like Nautilus is a strong support at the moment. Slash, I don't know. Kai'Sa gets enabled by a lot of things that Nautilus can do. What sort of kill lane are we gonna get bottom next? That's what I want to know. Yasuo is banned out on the side of Lancers. This Galio is most likely going to be played by Kanaina. It's not going to be played by Rutledge. It could be. It could be a mid lane. Ooh, it's a Twitch Galio bot lane, perhaps. Does that mean we get to see invisible torpedoes?
You know, this is an interesting pick. Obviously, Twitch is kind of known as a hyperscaler and someone that you typically play with an enchanter, like the Lulu that is currently getting hovered by Lancers, in fact. And so with that in mind, I think that this Galio is in fact going to be flex potential. Kanaina most likely going to be on it, as you pointed out here, Feed. But let's not doubt the fact that CBR Rutledge has been doing a lot with a lot of different champions, and they have in fact flip-flopped, say that 5 times fast, with Kanaina to pick up the Galio. So we could be seeing something, you know, a little bit more specialized. I would like to see actually something like a Yuumi given this comp so far.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Which sucks.
Does it? Maybe
I
we'll
love you.
get Talia picked for the support.
I mean, you know, I actually think that she does favorably into Nautilus, but I should probably stop talking about my terrible takes.
It does look like, speaking of takes, Hito seems like they're going to be playing Wukong. It could be Bard jungle only, but I do think Wu is going to be going top lane. That armor shred is really strong. Off of the Q. It's I mean, it hurts when you get hit in the head with that staff. It double hurts when 2 monkeys hit you in the head with that staff at the same time. So we'll have to see what kind of goes down with the way that they lane this out. But like I said, I think that's going to be Hito and Wukong.
Ooh, the Corki hover coming through. That's exciting.
That's a Corki pick.
Yeah, I actually have been enjoying Corki more and more as time goes on. The exhaustion has worn off, and I'm happy to see the little Yordle back in the game. That's for sure. This is a champion that, you know, is looking for a relatively easy laning phase, and that could be why they chose it up against CBR Rutledge, if they will in fact be going on to the Galio here, which may in fact put the blue squad in a little bit of a pickle as to whether or not they actually want to shift this to the bot side of the map. Zed going to get locked in, and I think that we're going to be getting a bit more rounding and a bit more information about how this team is going to orient itself with this last selection here, Feed.
You think we'll be able to figure out their team comp when they have all 5 champions? Are you sure?
Well, like some teams, you still don't know exactly where everyone is going position-wise, even after they pick their fifth champion. But this time around, I feel relatively confident in our ability to parse things through. It will be the Lux grabbed. So actually, I'm still confused.
I mean, I
I'm really
suppose
cursed. I'm
it's
really
gonna
cursed
be
in
it's
this
gonna be a
series.
top lane Viego, a jungle Twitch, a bot lane Set and Lux, and a mid lane
Galio mid.
Galio.
Yeah.
Do you think I got all of them wrong?
No, I think that it's. Oh God, I actually think it's gonna be Lux support. It just makes a little bit more sense for me with
I was
Twitch.
wrong. It is going to be a Wukong jungle. Bard only jungle is going to be playing Wukong, and Hito Hito is going to be going top lane. I do not think that Mundo will be in the jungle.
I'm relatively happy with the way that Lancers have kind of picked here. They, I think, are equally responsive to CBR, and you have a pretty solid swath of champions that balance out both meta as well as things that you're just personally happy with seeing as comfort picks. We've seen the Wukong jungle actually, I think, come through. I don't know if it was for Bard jungle only earlier on in this series, but Blue Water League, no stranger to this choice.
Yeah. The only like, I can't wait until Noble gets to ult Mundo into the back of Lancer's backline and like completely deletes everyone though if the game goes long enough. You do have a couple of really good ways for Galio to get delivered into the middle of the team as well, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that Set showstopping back one of these frontliners from Lancers could be a really big deal. There's a lot of ways by which CBR will be able to control the pace of fights, and therefore, I think Lancers has to be careful about how they set up around objectives. I think that they are just going to go for kind of solo lane domination once again, maybe with the exception there of the Corki, who's just not going to be able to do a whole lot early game by virtue of being, well, someone who hyperscales. And so with that in mind, Nautilus, Kai'Sa, Dr. Mundo, all champions that are just looking to pick kills or otherwise gain a lot of tempo advantages so that they'll be able to kind of split up CBR and not have to fight them as a whole.
Yeah, not to mention, like, so if you do end up fighting CBR as a whole, you definitely went out in the CC battle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in the straight up damage battle, but you've got two ults that knock up, and like technically one of those ults is, you could argue, two ultimates. And then you have a lot of damage coming down from Kai'Sa and Corki, and Mundo just goes where he pleases, right? Like Hito Hito, we've seen that he can play this champion well. So can't wait to see what he has in store for us this game. And I assume that the damage still comes down if you ult Mundo and his passive procs with Set, like as far as the bonus damage, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that would whiff a lot of the damage potential that Set wants. So, like I said, we'll see how this comes out. We'll see what's happening here. Who do you think is gonna get the first blood?
Given the fact that it will actually be Lux mid, I think there's a good chance that Galio will act as counter-engage versus Nautilus Kai'Sa. Maybe a Dredge line is going to be landed, but Galio just going to stun up this champion, and I think that Twitch has enough damage even early on to really take down the Titan. So, I'm predicting CBR first blood bot side.
Yeah? Okay, first blood going down the bot side. You think that Nautilus will fall or Kai'Sa will fall to the Galio, the powers of the Galio taunt again?
Sure, and I mean also, these players have been going so aggressive there on that side of the map, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just start brawling from the very beginning.
Yeah, kind of in the same fashion they did last time. Maybe Kanaina doesn't try and get too aggressive early like he did last time, though, because it was far too early against the Nautilus. You need a couple of levels before you can actually go toe-to-toe with all the CC that he has at level 1. Personally, anyways. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past.
You know, I've been wrong too. I mean, I was wrong this game, given the fact that we will be seeing Rutledge on the Lux. I was wrong last game regarding the health of CBR's early game. And I was wrong about calls in game number 1. So across the board, I'm hoping to turn things up. And you know who's also hoping to turn things up? CBR. I mean, how do you come back from like the mental damage that last game must have caused?
Yeah, I mean that was demoralizing, but hopefully you come back from it the same way that Lancers Esports came back from their loss, right?
True,
They
true.
they came back pretty strong in that one to sort of fight it out. I still like I'm just kind of looking at it though, and I honestly don't know whose comp that I like more here.
You know, I don't want to go CBR for a third game, especially as I was punished terribly for doing so in last round, but Percy on Twitch is just a match made in heaven. We saw them pop off multiple times on this champion. They're just able to do so much late on, and I feel that teams often have a penchant for just kind of forgetting about him if he goes invisible during team fights.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with. Like, if Twitch can be a sneaky rat, he could be the big cheese.
Hey.
But you know, like what was happening in the game, like it took one good fight for Percy to basically win out in that slugfest of game 2 last week. But I kind of feel like the strategy will be the same for Lancer Esports as it was last week for CB Rush's opponent, where it's just if we delete Twitch, who do they have? Right? If you're 1-3 as Viego in this game, it's gonna hurt a lot more because that you lose a lot of your damage if Twitch is the only fed one on your team. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Like, and they do have a considerable amount of like, we're going to click on Percy and make sure that he's not allowed to have any fun. Just because of the follow up from Kaisa on a Wukong or on a Nautilus like CC chain. And then Mundo just walks past everybody and punches him.
The classic. Going where they please.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how it's going to work. Speaking of going where we please, we are going to segue to a quick break while we wait for the rest of Spectator Delay to go away. Gonna kick it back over to you for 2 more seconds. Narco, any last words before we get into champ like loading screens?
I don't think I have anything. Just a burning desire to see how these teams compete with one another to once again get advantage here into this 5-game series. Don't go anywhere. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League semifinals, where we have game number 3 starting off with CBR and Lancers going at it. And it looks like we're getting yet another death ball from the Lancers squad. They did this with Blitzcrank last time around, and it looks like they want to repeat Lightning with this Nautilus. That being said, a lot of people from Blue Squad waiting in the wings will be able to get the root down with Lux Q, but this is so many people acting as frontline. First blood going to go over to Hito. Kanaina just going to have to walk out of there at about half health. And unfortunately, that attempt at making a play as a response to the invade is just not working out for Rush as well as they expected. Noble attempt going to have a little bit of trouble in that lane.
Yeah, it was pretty good on the side of, you know, Lancer to sit there and secure the first kill, but there were no summoners spent on the side of CBR. There was a heal spent on the side of Lancers, so we'll see if they're able to take advantage of that in the bot lane here in a little bit, because Exhaust and Ignite against just an Ignite is going to be pretty heartfelt to deal with.
Yeah, I definitely agree that that is a solid means by which to get back into this for CBR. And in fact, they want to try to contest this red buff. Snazzy going very low, but Kanaina is going to fall. It was a 4v3. And Feedonomics, you're starting this game off with 2 kills to 1.
Yeah. But, you know, you can never get mad if one of those kills is on your Twitch, right? The person that you want the kill to be on is there. And you've lost, I don't know, the first death as far as, like, wasting time doesn't really hurt, because they were already back up before, and you'd never want your support to kind of be off-kilter and, like, sort of staggered in levels from your ADC, but it's definitely way better than your support being level 2 and your ADC, like, getting stuck at level 1, right?
Yeah, that's true. And so while we do have Rush answering back in some ways, I am definitely worried about the kind of tempo that we're going to be seeing both Lancers and Rush go for bot side of the map, given the fact that both of these supports are relatively staggered versus one another. And honestly, I think that the 2 assists from Steel Thief are really going to help kind of equalize against this kill on the Twitch. All right, there is a solid taunt from Kanaina walking forward just to save Percy right there. And though he does take quite a bit of damage in kind, he will be able to make it safely to turret.
Yeah, once again, was just a really good taunt, actually. To capture both people on the side of Lancer. Steel Thief and Snazzy did get distracted by that big pink sentinel.
It's one way to put it for sure. Top side of the map.
Is it not a giant pink skin?
I guess it is. I guess it is.
Noble is up in levels right now. Oh no, watch out.
Yeah, this is a solid cheese from Snazzy and Steel Thief, though. They want to answer back, and they know that Percy doesn't have flash on them. So here's the approach from the Nautilus. And look, it is 3 people in the area. Bard Jungle only going to help clean up the kill against Kanaina, but Percy will be able to answer back with a kill of their own before falling to Steel Thief. So 2 kills on that Twitch, like you're saying, pretty valuable, but you are getting 2 kills for every 1 so far on the side of Lancers.
Yeah, once again, though, like, Percy knew that he wasn't going to get out. Trying to all-in somebody and actually get the kill was pretty well done.
And yet again, CBR are conserving their summoner spells bot side of the map.
That Valkyrie is just too strong at the moment. I'm wondering how Noble is going to build this game, right? Do you think they just go Gore Drinker, or do you think they try and build something tanky? Like, I mean, it's not going to be Stridebreaker, I know that much.
Yeah, I think the set has a lot of options right now. I think it's really going to depend upon how far ahead in lane he's able to get and how much of a carry he's going to end up being. Percy, though, with both of the kills, 100% KP on the side of Rush might mean that we will see a tankier stat for set there. Noble Attempt might realize that it's really going to be kind of an all-in for this AD carry in order to try to wrest a victory from the jaws of Lancers.
Yeah. we'll like I said, we'll have to see. Chat's kind of going back and forth on if Mundo is going to be behind or ahead in this lane. The kill is 400 gold for free, but like I said earlier, right now behind in levels. I don't know what the experience discrepancy is at the moment, but I know how I can figure that out. I will click on the champion, and then I will look at their experience.
This is a lot of vision in the bot side river for CB Rush, so they could be looking to grab first dragon for the third game in a row here, and that could be what they use as their win con. We are seeing solid potential for mid lane to just continue to pressure out Lighthearted. Corky's going to have a heck of a time going up against Rutledge in this lane, and therefore, even if kind of Ina and Percy will get pushed back a little bit by Snazzy and Steel Thief, you have the ability to continue to rotate over to those dragons, as we see in fact happening right now. Waves crashing bot side of the map, so no better time to grab a little bit of a buff for yourself.
Yeah, and it looks like Bard has the chance to go to either top or mid.
Yeah, meanwhile, Noble attempting a little bit of trouble here. Showstopper going to come out alongside the Flash, but Set's going to have to try to book it away, and Bard Jungle will not let it happen. That is one more kill grab for Lancers. It will be a Flash traded, but I think you take that every day of the week when Noble Attempt himself also had a Flash there.
Yeah, you definitely trade your laner slash for your jungler slash there if you're wanting to get the kill. Still pretty good play on their side to force the fact that they needed to. And it looks like Bard Jungle should just be able to walk away from this.
Yeah, Hito coming through top side of the map. The route from Rutledge will mean that the shutdown really goes over to the mid laner on the side of Rush, and bot side of the map. We see further plays being made by CBR. That being said, Percy's in a lot of trouble. He got ignited. Snazzy will grab that kill, and I don't think Galio has the solo damage to take down anyone in return, so he's going to be set packing, and a well-placed Void Missile by Steel Thief will make this 2 kills for nothing. Things are still coming up for Red Squad.
Yeah, I think that Percy had to focus Nautilus there once you start to push Steel Thief off. And stepping up and into the minion line, not to mention getting ignited and not really having any other defensive items or summoner spells definitely led to his demise.
And those early advantages that you were getting put onto Percy have all but evaporated here once again. I'm really worried now. Steel Thief has popped off twice on this Kaisa, and they are looking to ride this all the way to the bank and beyond. So with that in mind, Rush really going to have to take a backseat bottom side of the map, maybe even give up some of the dragons that they're beginning to stack, and just kind of reorient themselves for a bit more of a late game style of play.
Yeah. Well, here we go. We're just going to get a little bit more damage onto Hito. I don't know, item-wise, Mundo already has a couple of really strong items to deal with Set. Bramble Vest and their Bambi Cylinder, while you're just dealing with the pickaxe on the side of Set. So it's either going to be a Hull Breaker or Gore Drinker. We'll find out more if he spends 200 gold to turn it into a Spike.
Breaker to start the fight off bot side of the map, and a W to follow up. Cade is trying to go in, but will die in response. Steel Thief able to grab that kill before being shut down in kind. Luckily, that gold flowing back over to Twitch means that Percy's not out of this one quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as long as you keep getting Percy fed, then that's gonna prove to be disastrous. Like you were saying earlier, we saw how well they did on this champion 2 weeks ago. Oof!
Yeah, Percy in a little bit of trouble, though. Snazzy with another fantastic dredge line down onto the rat. Luckily, no aggro had been taken by Percy, so he's able to walk out of there pretty safely. And Snazzy get a flash forward with another dredge line to help pick up a kill for Steel Thief as soon as they triumphantly return to this lane. You cannot count out Lancers at any point here on the bot side.
Yeah, their bot lane is is playing very well at the moment, and I am curious about this top lane matchup, just to see how well each player is going to be playing into their advantage / disadvantage. I do understand that Mundo has that gold, but they are about 15 minions down. So the CS difference is kind of comparable on gold gain and gold loss, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah, that being said, he's already getting tanky and putting a lot of damage down onto Noble Attempt in kind, so you really have to watch out in your trading pattern here. If Mundo is able to get his capsule back and restore his passive eventually, it's quite the scary scenario for a Noble Attempt, because he's just not able to continually control the movements of Hito, and so Mundo's able to kind of just dictate when trades are going to occur. Right there, we see another face breaker just kind of get stopped by the Mundo passive, and therefore Hito able to just toss a few rusty scalpels back at the enemy and make sure things stay even.
Yeah, still waiting to see Rutledge kind of do more on this Lux, right?
I mean, Rutledge is definitely setting themselves up to do so.
Yeah, and here we go. We have the hook not landing. Maybe.
Yeah, Snazzy going to get ulted and rooted by Lux to follow up on that fight. Shutdown going to go over to the mid laner, but Bar Jungle only deep in the backline, forcing the Zanyas out of Rutledge. And now it is a 3v3, but Cade is trying to get out of here. Percy going to die as a means of trying to defend against Viego, but he doesn't have a means to try to get out here of the Dragon Pit. He will smite it, but it's still a double for the Lancers, and they will try to plow down this Mountain Drake. All the while, Rutledge on the periphery of the fight, but not able to get a rotation of spells out to knock down any of these enemies. And so once again, advantage to Red Squad, even though you are getting gold on some core members of Rush.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, the Noble is going just for Gore Drinker on the set, that chain whip or spike whip. The
Iron Spike whip, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I only was forgetting the iron part in my rank.
Nice one.
Thank you. Oh, we have a gank. Oh, the slam!
Yeah, top side of the map, Mundo is getting harassed, but bot side's where the action is to start things off. Bar Jungle only going on a killing spree, able to kill Percy. Kanaina just going to have to sit near the tower and repel these presses from Lancers. And Mundo going to get out at the expense of their flash means that across the map, it's a 1-for-0.
And Hito just walked out.
Yep, the classic.
The classic Mundo walks when he pleases.
Yeah, Noble Attempt though wants to go back in here, going to try to facebreaker once again. Capsule will be popped. But the cooldown for the Facebreaker and Noble Attempt's ability to just kind of position in a lane in a way to kind of aggro Hito makes it exceptionally difficult for him to really follow up quickly enough to actually kind of exploit the fact that Mundo is lacking their immunity. So with that in mind, things will just return back to neutral. Finally, though, Facebreaker going to land. Hito with no flash and a little bit of trouble. There's the W, but somehow he makes it out without even taking a scratch from that ability. Steel Thief there in the mid lane, getting a ton of damage down onto Rutledge, who will throw Q, forcing the flashback out of Kaisa. Yeah, really solid call by Lancers here. But that being said, Kanaina and Percy pretty far forward, trying to repel Bar Jungle only from taking more of CBR's jungle. They will be successful in doing so, but these are still not kills picked up. These are entirely defensive plays by the blue squad.
Yeah. That was a decent attempt by Kanaina to try and taunt down the Wukong for being in the jungle and sort of punishing him for mispositioning, but you know, that clone is just tricky.
That's one way to put it. Yeah, and we have about a 5,500 gold lead, I believe. Oh yeah, a little bit less than that over now to Lancers. So you really have to be judicious in how you utilize your spells for CBR. You only really have one attempt to get a root down. You only have one attempt to get a taunt down onto the enemy team. And therefore, if you can't lock people early on and you whiff your rotation, I just think you have to book it out of fights for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, retreating wouldn't be the worst idea. You know, if you do get a good ultimate opportunity on the side of hitting Mundo so that you know, you can maybe squeeze a kill on Hito, it's probably going to be sooner rather than later. He's really scary on Mundo when Mundo gets to like 3 items or 4 items.
Cade trying to go for the 1v1, maybe not recognizing that Hito is in the area. Kanaina going to try to help back them up. There's the heroic entrance being utilized. Will get the knockdown onto the Wukong, and Cade will have to get out just a sliver of health left. Hito now the one in trouble, though. Corki not able to do enough to recover back any of the damage, and CBR are going to start steamrolling down through mid lane. They got enough members with which to do it, and Cade has the reset. Will try to Heartbreaker over the wall, not able to grab anyone with it. Rutledge is there with the ultimate, and all of a sudden CBR have come through with a fantastic play resulting in an ace.
Yeah, Percy did get that sneaky, I'm gonna walk in and you're not gonna be paying any attention to me, so I'm gonna get a lot of damage. But Rutledge's light binding right there was just about pixel perfect to root 2 players on the side of Lancer Esports to pull away with that one right there. That was a rough time if you're a Lancers fan there, kind of parsing through the chat really quick on my second monitor.
I mean, we definitely still have Lancers in the lead here. The next point of contention is going to be this dragon, and everyone will be back up in time for it, so it will not be clean sailing for either side. We do see Cade Kanaina trying to get into River, but the zoning potential from these 4 members so far of Lancers, and the 5th one joining them with the teleport, is so scary, especially given the fact that Lighthearted has their package up.
Yeah, and the dragon's gonna fall with like no contest, like really at all.
Yeah, I think it's exceptionally difficult to go for the contest here, and in fact, Lancers, I think, still want to try to pick a fight. You have that package still up on Corki, and eventually it will be used one way or the other, so why not do it for offensive purposes? Cade going to drop their mists down right by the Rift Herald, but I think it's just too scary to start Shelly up. It will in fact just be a clean rotation from Red Squad to try to take both of these neutral objectives within a minute. Noble attempt on the far side. There is Kanaina coming in, and that's a huge taunt. Big root as well. Rutledge initiating this fight fantastically. There's the package being dropped, so in turn CBR are taking quite a bit of damage, but Cade at full health still is going to be able to go forward and Heartbreaker down onto the Corki. It's only Snazzy now left alive, and that Valkyrie forward will be enough to make sure Viego gets on top of them. The ace comes through once again for CBR, and they are back in this one. Goodness,
Kanaina is like just this is very good Galio play. That was wild, man. Definitely playing it well, followed up brilliantly by CB Rush as they are. They squeaked out with the gold lead now. And all of a sudden, we kind of have a game.
No, and this is a really fantastic position to be in, because I think one of the core factors that was really equalizing Lancer's strength or putting them far ahead in the form of Corki package just was used by Lighthearted. So for the time being, now that you have a lot of priority over to CB Rush, they're just going to have a solid time pushing down these lanes. You have the Rift Herald as well, so you're going to be able to dictate some fights, or at least dictate the pace of the game for the next few minutes. And I think that this is where you're going to really see them shine. That being said, Percy in a little bit of trouble. Just gonna have to sneaky their way on out. I'm not really sure what they were thinking about doing there. Oh no, and Kanaina as well going to get caught too. Rutledge is coming down into the area to try to help the Galio get away, and with one light binding right down the center of that choke point, will be successful in doing so.
You don't want to be there though.
Yeah, you're gonna have to play a little bit further back than that. I know I just talked about how you have priority, but this is a little bit too overeager.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's happening here. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal that Kanaina needs to teleport back. Hito having to flash away as they are looking...
Yeah, Cade actually going to grab the red buff right there, and I think this is where the initiation is going to come through. Lux is going to be able to get an ultimate down onto so many people, and Kanaina with the heroic entrance will protect their carry. Hito now sent scattered to the winds as 2 people so far are dead on Lancers, and they want a 3rd. Lighthearted is going to book it into the cloud zone, so they will have the speed to try to run out of this one. Heartbreaker not going to be enough this time. Viego going to try to W down onto the Corki Rider, but is not able to get it, so the dog will live another day. But this does not matter as much for CBR. They are hungry for towers more than anything else. Rift Herald dropped mid. Shelly not even going to be able to charge there at that tier 2. So the question is, will we see CBR continue to push towards the inhibitor? It looks like with the backing of the Lancers, they will not be able to do so, but somehow the Beetle gets the charge off.
Shelly still charges. Too strong.
Good old reliable Shelly.
Too strong, Shelly.
Too strong, Shelly. Yeah, we're about a minute and a half before the next dragon spawns, and we do have Baron. Oh, Noble attempt in a little bit of trouble here. He's gonna have to try to get over the wall. Will not even be able to have that luxury. And so one picked up as a revenge kill for Lancers, and they're just gonna hightail it to Baron now.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a free Baron. You can't really contest. Percy's all the way bottom. I don't think your movement speed on Q is gonna get you there in time.
Yeah, but Kaniina going in will get the taunt down onto Steel Thief. The Squishy is taking quite a bit of damage, but I think that this may have been a bit too over-eager, as we will see Cade fall, and the wraparound from the Wukong means that Percy is going to have to try to answer back. Does have the damage to do it, but it is still 3 dead now on the side of CBR, and that might be enough to repel the play from Lancers, but you did give a nice chunk of change back over to the Red Squad.
Yeah, you definitely gave 800 gold over to one of the players. I'm not quite sure. We could check out the chat really quick to see. Wukong got it. Oh, that's... Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. It is certainly rough. That being said, Noble Attempts now up for the Dragon, as is the rest of a CB Rush. So they got another lease on life. They have another objective that they can now go for, and I think that they'll be able to take a little bit more even of a fight. A lot of ultimates have returned to the battlefield for Blue Squad. Noble Attempt, notably, with the ability to use Showstopper, I think is going to be a huge boon, as it combos very nicely with Rutledge and company. And already we see Cade eagerly going in. Will not be able to get anything fully started off here, as he will kind of fade back to meet up with the rest of Blue Team. But they still are trying to dominate this river. All the while, though, we definitely have found a lance in for Lancers, as it were. Bard jungle only, playing pretty far forward. They know that they are a big source of damage, a big source of discord for the enemy team. There's the hook being landed as well, but it is onto Galio. Noble attempt walking forward with the Showstopper is going to be able to get quite a bit of damage down, and the spin to win is not enough for the Wukong to stop from the team from falling. Percy with the triple kill so far, quadra kill in fact, and now it looks like the Rat wants to get one more. Cade going to lock down onto Dr. Mundo, as we see the Twitch get the penta. The ace has come through for CBR. They will grab this dragon, and they have firmly taken control of this game.
Yep, there you go. Like, oh man, Percy on Twitch is always kind of a delight, right? And Set just deciding to line everyone up. Now, I think this Baron's gonna go uncontested. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, we do have a mob of Lancers players running it down mid and trying to get desperately to the big purple worm, but I just don't think that they have the firepower to do this in time. There is the control ward out. The Baron going exceptionally low here. It will be claimed with no steal attempts really by Lancers, and they will be able to file out in kind. So this is a firm statement in this game. I mean, we saw Lancers pretty far ahead in this one, and things have turned quite back around. Twitch has scaled fantastically, and Rutledge has just been such a fantastic source of control and damage. And as you said before, Noble Attempt just really given their life for the cause here. Great ultimates, great attempts at displacing core members of Lancers, and things really coming together.
Taking the phrase "my body for the team" to the next level. Speaking of, though, if I was Percy, I'd be worried. Like, you gotta watch out. You do have, well, they were sniffed out with that clairvoyance. I'm gonna call it clairvoyance. I don't care what you say.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, with the Baron buff, I'm interested to see where CBR will want to push after they finish the shove down mid lane, given the fact that 3 members of Lancers are going to come and answer back. It could just be that they want to take another fight here. Snazzy, you know, maybe the target of Cade's ire for the time being. Heartbreaker is up on this Viego. Rutledge, now with that cooldown, just kind of able to ult waves and continue to help the push for Rush. Right now, it's just more of a vision game, though, as we see the rotation begin to the top side.
Yeah, and I mean they're gonna do their best to push down this inner turret. So we'll see what happens.
And once again, the cannon boy, as you were talking about before, just going to stay on the periphery of the tower range, just help whittle it down even further. These are the siege situations you really got to be worried about because of ultimates just like that. Rutledge laser beaming onto Snazzy and forcing the back out of the Nautilus.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, the cannon minion, whenever there's a Baron buff, is a giant diva. just won't step far enough up. I'm not gonna be there. Are you kidding me? I can't get hit by the tower. It's kind of their logic, I think.
Yeah, and I mean,
and now
hey,
he's gonna fall here. Oh,
yeah,
that was your engage.
Stealthy forced to flash out. Will be able to also avoid the ultimate from Rutledge that came right behind it. So, so far, Lancers are able to continue to present a united front against this shove, but that tier 2 topside is going to be taken away. And, you know, Noble Attempt is really just drawing away Lighthearted in order to push down bot lane, excuse me. We're about 2 minutes from the next dragon spawning, and with neither team actually cresting towards a soul point, I think it's just going to be a little bit less focused on versus these big waves that are currently crashing for Blue Squad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they're going to do the same thing here. They're going to move down and try to take out the center turret, try to get as much vision control as they can on the jungle, and then they're going to turn it into more advantages, right? They probably will. There will be another fight for this Drake here in a little bit, because it's League of Legends, so Drake fights are just going to happen. But we'll see what happens. Like, we'll see what goes down during that next engage, right? It seems like everything that Rush is trying to do here towards the end of this has been going their way, and we'll see if it stays in that sort of cadence and direction, right?
Yeah, Snazzy with a little bit of a Homer Simpsons moment there, coming right out of the bushes just to kind of slide their way right back in. Yeah. I honestly, there's like a lot of Simpsons moments you could tie to that. It's also like Grandpa hanging their hat on the door and then taking the hat and walking right back out. You know, Simpsons always did it first, and that includes basically every conceivable gameplay scenario in League of Legends.
Narco, got a quiz question for you.
All right.
What was the gold lead for Lancers before the kind of climb back in from CBR?
I don't know, 5K? I'm not good at math.
I think that it was also 5K. We had chat asking, and I didn't want to just shoot it out without having somebody else confirm.
You know, Feedonomics, most of the time when people have quizzes, the person administering the quiz typically knows the answer.
Well, I mean, it's a group study.
But it's not a quiz. You can just be like, hey, Nyarko, I got a question for you as my co-caster. You don't have to take the teacherly role if you, in fact, are not a teacher.
I mean, that's possibly true, but I thought it was more fun the way I presented it, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know what's also fun? The fact that CBR has now hit that soul point crest. They got one more. They got 5 minutes before they will be able to grab a Cloud Soul, and they're going to be turbo fast here, which, you know, maybe not necessarily the best on the champions that they brought to the table, but I would imagine that the repositioning potential from Percy and Rutledge is just going to be helped quite a bit by the fact that they're able to pop ult and run.
I don't know, yeah, I think Rat-a-tat-tat being able to ult and run away is going to be fun. Because how do you run away from that?
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, I mean, I would say, I've said this before, like, Cloud Soul is my favorite soul if the team is ahead.
What's wrong with you?
But, like, CBR is definitely ahead in this one. I mean, even though that gold gap isn't massive, they are now sitting at about 6K cleanly in the lead against Lancers. And that is, that is large amounts of gold. That's 2 whole items, basically, over to members who just scale a lot better than what Lancers has at the table, besides probably the Corki, who is still yet to secure kill.
Oh!
Yeah, we haven't engaged on the top side of the map. Spin to win. Bar Jungle only going Beyblade right now, but it's not doing a whole lot of damage, and Kanaina just wants to walk up and get the multi-man taunt. That being said, it will be Twitch going down early in this one. Heroic entrance, not enough to save that champion. Bar Jungle only sent on the run on the far side away. This Galio doing so much to cause discord in the backline, and the rest of CBR are popping off. There's the double-double from the Viego in the body of the Wukong, and Rutledge is going to help get the triple over to their jungler. Cade, you know, living out the dream this time around. They were the supportive champion in game number 1, but here they are very clearly one of the carries.
Yeah, no, I mean, but we haven't talked about it a lot this game, and it might kind of get crashed here unless they got to reset. But Rutledge is playing a perfect game at the moment.
Oh, 100%. I absolutely love how Rutledge has been playing this out. No deaths, 6 kills, and think about the CC they have contributed to this team.
Yeah, I really wish that we could see the CC score at the end of this game. Like, I would love nothing more than to see how it would turn out. And that was pretty well played by Percy there, kind of to be the decoy, the fool's gold, as it were. They got the kill and they were like, hooray! And then, you know, the fights were over.
Yeah, and already you're seeing the kind of pressure that CBR are able to apply across the map. Lancers, they have to come topside and immediately peek up on Marin and make sure that the big purple worm isn't being taken. Cade gonna wait in bush, and a nice root there from Rutledge, and their ultimate's even able to account for the dredge line. This is someone who knows their Lux, and in turn, Snazzy gonna be taken to less than half health here.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I'm gonna look at the other fun interactive thing about Lux. Oh, it's their ult's on it's up in 10 seconds. It's 5 seconds now. The ult's back up.
Nothing more terrifying than just hearing from across the map as Lux prepares the laser beam.
You could spam Lux laugh while you're doing it.
Can you actually?
I mean, you could most likely. I have my laugh.
Oh, Snazzy. Luckily, they had the shield on them. They are not quite dead just yet, but that is Leandri's burn forcing out the locket of the Iron Solari. Nautilus basically off the map for the time being. We're going to have to back. And meanwhile, we see Noble attempt ulting Steel Thief under tower here. Will be followed right back up by Galio. So Kaisa is going to fall. Snazzy basically going to be useless for this one. That being said, things aren't quite split up. Cade going on a rampage there, but Barjung only will be able to kill the ADC of CBR in turn. That being said, I don't think it's enough to stay alive into this one. The ace comes through as we see Rutledge go godlike. This is going to be 5 kills for a 1 and a game number 3 over to CBR. Another FF vote from Lancers. They don't want that crystal cracked, but it does not change the outcome of this one.
Good golly, Miss Molly. That's kind of how I feel about this one. Definitely didn't look good for CB Rush in the beginning of that game. But just fantastic positioning on the side of CBR Rutledge. 7 and 22 with 0 deaths. You want to talk about being a contributing factor of your team? How about being a part of 29 of your
They have to apply it. Shining example of what to do on a support, man. I'm loving what Kanaina has brought to the table. They were also fantastic in the last series that we witnessed from them. And I hope that Lancers learn from their mistake and finally just kind of remove this champion from rotation.
Yeah, I mean, they might have to ban it out. I can't remember if they did game 2 or not. But Kanaina just like is definitely like pulling their weight from the support role. What if you're Lancers Esports, what do you do going into this game? This basically elimination game, right? We're up 2-1 at the moment.
Yeah, I think that what you need to do on these champions, if you go for a similar game plan as to what you had this time around, which I think is totally doable because of your early game advantage, you just kind of need to understand the power spikes of the enemy a little bit better. I think that you were taking some awkward fights at points in time in which Rutledge was power spiking a bit. They had their mythic item built and they were just able to laser beam people down. And similarly, Kanaina, kind of got to this point where they were just able to tank up a lot of damage, and they therefore were very happy to give up a huge chunk of their life bar to get to the back line and just stun everybody up. So be a little bit more careful about that, and you definitely have a way to bring this to a game 5.
Yeah, I do not disagree with. Game 5 is definitely possible in this series, especially with the way that both teams have been playing. That being said, I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens next. We're gonna take a slight delay. Um, go on a break for a second so that casters can get some water and we can get into spectators so we can bring you all game 4. Don't go anywhere. Stick around. This is an exciting series. I can't wait. Finals may be decided at this point after this next match.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League. We are here in Game 4 of the semifinals match between CB Rush and Lancers Esports. Things have been dramatic. Things have been heating up for sure, and I'm excited to see whether or not we'll be moving on to Silver Scrapes into Game 5.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. This ban phase is taking a little bit of time. I think they're trying to figure out who they don't want to see in the hands of CBR, and it's going to be the Yasuo. They didn't like Percy on that in game 1.
You think we're going to be seeing the Galio ban?
Maybe in second rotation, but I don't think that they're in first rotation ban phase.
You see,
Could be wrong.
yeah, I feel like Kana Ina has just been so good on that champion, and honestly, given the current meta where you are supposed to at least pick the bot lane plus jungler there in the first rotation, I would imagine that it should be kind of a now or never mentality for Lancers. That being said, they're just going to knock away the Viego here. They got one more shot at taking that away, but they could also just think, hey, the Galio ain't the problem. It's everything else surrounding that pick. And we'll see what CBR is going to respond with. Already the Gwen out of the equation once again, been contested and banned in every single one of these games so far. Not surprised to see that or the Xayah knocked out here.
Yeah, kind of following a tried and true strategy. We'll see Ornn's taken away, and we'll see if they take away Ahri so that it's not first picked on the side of Lancers. Because that was kind of their first pick the last time they were blue side, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Rutledge has a pretty deep champion pool, so grabbing the Ahri here I think is more of a statement that you just want to help focus on Lighthearted's ability to just play towards something that they're comfortable with, more so than it being something that you're necessarily denying from CB Rush. That being said, it is a powerful champion, and in the one game where Lancers managed to pick it up, they did win. So far, could be a blue side buff, who's to say?
Yeah, it could just be blue side buff. Ooh. Now the question is, will this be a jungle Wukong or will it be a top lane Wukong?
Oh gosh, I don't think I have ever seen Cade go for jungle Wukong unless I'm completely off base, and it was in fact the one other time I did witness it in the BOL. So I would imagine this is a top lane choice for Noble attempt, but this is also a champion I'm kind of surprised to see being used as a denial, as it's really only the mains who kind of play this champ. It's not something that a lot of people pocket.
Yeah, we'll have to see where it goes, and this time we get to see the Nautilus in the hands of CBR. Shyvana getting picked again for Lancers. That was also a really strong blue side pick last time. But Nautilus, I think, has a couple more tools to deal with it than Leona does. And now we'll see. I don't know. I doubt they pick their top laner, but wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, it's actually going to be the Kai'Sa here.
Yeah. Kai'Sa has been played really strongly on the side of Lancers Esports, to be honest. So I can see why they'd go for that pick again. That's just a comfortable pick, I think, on their side.
Yeah, definitely. I think that kind of going back to at least some of these continued stable champions has definitely been a means by which Lancers has stayed competitive in these games. That being said, speaking of comfort picks, Percy grabs the Twitch for themselves yet again.
Yeah, and Darius getting banned out for the first rotation for the bot side. I like that a lot just because of how dominant Hito was when they were playing on it earlier. Rutledge's Lux getting banned out makes a lot of sense here. They also played lights on, not lights out. But
yeah,
lights
that's
on
for sure. Illuminate the enemy, illuminate the whole freaking map as well, I guess.
Banish the shadows.
Banish the shadows.
Let's see what we have for our last two ban outs, though. Okay. All right, yeah. Get rid of an extremely strong enchanter, and then getting rid of Shin so that Twitch doesn't have a "oh no" button. These all make sense. But what do we think Rutledge is going to get on this game? Do we think they go back to an Orianna? like Orianna and Wukong and Orianna and Nautilus are not shabby like combos, you know?
I mean, I think that Rutledge did fantastically in the 1v1 matchup there against Lighthearted in the game in which they did pick the Orianna. Oh no.
I like it.
No.
Silas has two good ults to steal. I don't know if I so much like Kai'Sa's ult. But literally you get form change when you're on Shyvana. So that'll be completely fun. I'm really hoping that Rutledge plays this well. Oh no! Don't do that. You know what? Why don't you just lock in a Malphite too?
Yeah, Leona ultimate, also a fantastic thing to steal away there on the Silas. Quinn, a little bit less valuable, I would imagine.
Yeah, you just go fast.
Which could be all that you need. Hey, I've talked about the value of Quinn's support before, and trust me, I will do it again. That being said, this is most likely going to be a top lane choice.
I'm banning her out when me and you play.
What, just so you cannot pick it?
Yes.
Like, I understand why you would do that, but I got an off-meta champion Ocean there in the support role, just so you know, Feed. Whatever you take away, I will just return with something even more embarrassing and terrible. What should I talk about today? Should I talk about Predator Twisted Fate support? Because I've been playing that a little bit.
I don't know. And look, you all couldn't hear it because I have voices in the back of my head named Prod. But like production also just audibly went what at the Predator TF. So
you buy boots early, you run at the enemy team and you yellow card them. Boom. Job done. You've supported. Good job. It works perfectly. It's a fantastic
Where's First Blood started? I'm gonna stop you. Where's First Blood happening?
You know, I think that Set has I think that Set is going to get harassed until he finally gets a way in. Quinn is going to get facebreakered, but has already done enough chip damage to Set for, unfortunately, CBR to fall, and in turn, Noble Attempt will be first blooded by Hito Hito.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna say it happens in the bot lane.
Okay, much more simple. I like that.
In the bot lane, Rush is gonna get a hold of it, I think. Leona and Kai'Sa don't feel as strong as Nautilus and Twitch early. I feel like you need some items and a little bit of scaling on the side of Kai'Sa before she becomes a real threat. But, you know, it depends on who shows up. Shyvana, kind of same deal, though, so I'd feel like the gank comes from Wukong before it comes from, like, Bard only and Shyvana, right?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I don't know. I just kind of want to see some solo bolos this time around. You know, Lancers have their back up against the wall. They have to pick this one up, bring it to a game 5 to stay competitive in this series. So I want them to play aggro, and I want them to try to go for kills, even if Bar Jungle is not necessarily there to assist.
Yeah, I still... No, man, Percy's been playing Twitch too well.
Yeah, but honestly, I think that Percy does play Twitch well, yes, but I think that it oftentimes comes outside of laning phase when we see them actually excel. You know, they take quite a few deaths there in the games in which we've kind of witnessed the Twitch being played, and that didn't change from last round. Sure, they popped off late. They, in fact, got the pentakill for themselves, but they were down 2 deaths there in early game.
Yeah, I mean, you know, First Blood came over, and then the second death came over. But Twitch ended up winning a round, so like, or getting a kill back in their favor, right? So like we were saying earlier, if you can keep them going, then you're in a good spot. I'm trying my hardest not to talk about Set or Silas or Set. I play both of them a lot.
Oh god.
Anytime
you bring up some irrelevant Silas fact, I will bring up another off-meta support that I have played.
Oh, don't do this to me. That hurts. That hurts. That's painful. Don't. Stop it. But did you know? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't know any fun interactions with the way that Silas E works against any of those people. I just like the fact that, you know, Silas gets to turn into a dragon.
You know, If you haven't tried it, I would really recommend full AP Nidalee support. It's absolutely fantastic, you know? You just burst people down with your spears early on, and if you're up against an enchanter, it's like bye-bye health bar. If you're able to get kills within the first few levels, you just completely snowball your lane into something absolutely unwinnable for the enemy. It's going to be in LCS next year, just mark my words.
Okay, guys, you all are gonna have to deal with a solo cast with no color commentator. Really appreciated all the time that I had in BOL from the semis, but I'm just gonna have to retire here at this point. Ow, it wasn't even a Silas fact. It wasn't even a Silas fact.
It sure sounded like one.
Nope, not even.
All right, maybe I'm just itching to talk about the off-meta supports. I should start a podcast, you know, and I'll just play every single champion in the support role one by one, and then I'll give you a review.
Great. Great. I love this podcast idea.
Starting with Aatrox support, you know, I haven't actually played that one yet, but it seems doable. You got your chains to act as CC.
Yeah.
Sure. I think you build like full tank Aatrox, right? And then
and you run Aftershock.
Yeah, there you go. See, you're thinking like a
stop.
player now. Yes.
No.
All right. To return to this game, though, we've already kind of ran through who gets first blood. But one thing that I want to note is that I think both of these teams are going for relatively opposed game plans. You have really solid gank potential early on with Cade actually going for the Wukong jungle. And so what I think that you're going to try to do is actually get Percy and Kanaina ahead early. Meanwhile, Hito, I think, is going to be perfectly happy just 1v1ing with Noble Attempt. And I think that that's where a lot of the tension points of this early game are going to come from, because Bard Jungle only does have good dive potential once they power farm up, hit level 6. And if you're just able to get enough poke damage down, this Quinn can really start becoming a problem. Similarly, if Quinn finds that this lane isn't necessarily going as well as they hope, they can always just roam. They have that ultimate in their arsenal, and when you have Lighthearted on Ahri, who has the ability to just kind of spirit rush forward and get a charm down onto Silas when they so please, it could be a really solid setup for a combined movement to the mid lane for Bard Jungle only and Hito.
Hold on, wait. It could be a good set up.
So, have you ever tried Fizz support?
Why? Why are you doing this? I'm gonna have to say that I think I do like the other side of the comp for Rush, right? You have a lot of ways to keep Shyvana from getting to the back of Twitch. What also makes me super happy is that Set will be able to look at Shyvana dragging in and go, no, we're gonna go back into your team, right? And be able to do that with either Shyvana or Leona.
Yeah, I like the peeling.
And kind of like the chat was talking about and everything, the matchup isn't, like, fun for Set initially, but if Set can either break even or get ahead, then it becomes very no fun for Quinn very fast. And a well-timed facebreaker or two will completely clip Quinn's Valor's wings for Quinn.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's going to be one of those balancing points to watch out for. It's going to be very skill testing for Noble Attempt. But, you know, everyone is going to be bringing their best to this one because, hey, this could be Lancer's last game here in the BOL for the spring split. So don't go anywhere. We're going to throw it to a quick break. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League semifinals game between CB Rush and Lancers Esports. We got both sides once again deathballing it up. It's been an interesting few openings for these games, and Lancers have to put everything on the line this time around as they are on the brink of elimination.
Yeah, and it looks like, hold on, let's check this out. Hasn't leveled a skill yet. I assume that Set would level W though for this fight, as we're kind of creeping around. We might get the fight. We might get the fight night. Nope.
Yeah, Noble Attempt just going to walk back through mid lane, it looks like. The rest of CBR, though, I think that they have a strong feeling that it is a big death push to walk into, so they have to be pretty confident about this engage. Cade and company, though, just going to continue to remain there, playing the patient game. It might actually look for a late invade, all things told.
That is maybe how this is posturing. Percy kind of peeking out. Percy, you're not in the bush. Thank you, Percy.
Yeah, Wukong also going to show, and it looks like we will in fact be getting
comes.
the late engage. That dredge line from Kana Ina, I think he may be a little bit too used to playing Galio for the time being.
Nah, he was trying to like have Ari walk into it. Well, not read the flash, but just if Ari would have pathed that way, they would have walked into it. So might being used early on Bard to see if they could just stay ahead in the clear.
Yeah, I think that was also just a bit of insurance just in case the fight went awry and a Lancers lost some members. It just means they didn't also lose a buff for doing so. Noble Attempt already fighting in the ranged top laner experience against Hito here. That's going to be a fun and relaxing time for the set, I'm sure.
It's great. I love this lane. It's a fun lane. That was sarcasm.
Oh, Zenith Blade already going to land down onto Percy. Kana Ino walking forward, trying to tank damage once again. And they will be successful in doing so. Ignite going to be dropped on the Nautilus for the time being. Cleanse has already been used by Percy in kind, so there will not be any heals for Kana Ino to kind of come back up in terms of HP. They're just going to have to chug their potions and wait.
Yeah. And we'll have to see how this mid lane plays out. Like, me talking about the mid lane when there's a Silas, go figure. Silas, once again, doesn't do poorly into this lane as long as he can avoid the charms, and the W kind of comes out like it's too much of a heal.
Yeah, Cade going to go for a really nice invade and in fact grab that blue buff from Bard Jungle Only. Actually, I think Bard Jungle Only may have gotten it right there. Both have it regardless. Noble Attempt, though, going to Facebreaker down onto Hito, but the Shyvana in the area is making this pretty dicey. First blood going to be picked up by the Quinn, but Bard Jungle Only getting ignited and chased down in turn. So 1-for-1 across the board. Maybe a little bit of extra gold so far for Lancers, and Lighthearted is going to poke the beehive even further and force the flash out of themselves. I'm not really sure about that engage right there. I think that they were just tempting fate, and they will get punished for it, rightfully so.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I've got some creepy noises going on in my house because of wind. So
it's all good. I could talk about Katarina support if you need to go investigate.
I'm gonna no, because that's not the last thing that I want to have on my mind before I get horror movie killed. Like, please. Like, you know what, actually, maybe that is a good reason to die. I'll be right back. Go ahead and bring up Katarina's support. We do just have kind of a lull, though, oh no.
Lighthearted will get a solid stun down onto CBR Rutledge, but even with the Ignite, it is not enough to secure a revenge kill, so it will be now a 2-1 score for the Red Squad.
Yeah, that was because of Silas's W, Kingslayer.
So Katarina support, basically you work as a zoner. You put your dagger down in an awkward position, and you just try to area of denial the opponent. Because you have absolutely no damage and you don't scale whatsoever, the pick kind of falls off after the 10-minute mark, but sometimes the team just FFs in time.
I investigated, it's the ice machine, I'm not gonna die. So we're safe. But, was worried there for a second. just good solid laning going on right now. We're looking at the set basically take one auto attack every time he steps up.
That being said, he has established a CS lead, which is pretty surprising to see.
Mm-hmm. And like I was talking about earlier, if that kind of cadence continues, then it's not going to be a good time for Hito on Quinn. Oh,
there's
snap.
the dredge being used. Cade in the area will be able to dash forward, and now this Leona is in a lot of trouble. I think Snazzy, even though they take quite a few shots, are not quite tanky enough to get out of there alive. So that is a third kill now racked up for CB Rush. Looks like Barjong only wants to turn things around topside though. Set going to walk all the way back towards the tower with Valor gouging out their eyes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other annoying part. You want to talk about my immense love for champions. I have an immense ire for a couple too. Quinn would be one of them. She's not any fun to lane against. It's so annoying. It's so satisfying when you can kill her.
Yeah, I think Noble Attempt may be having a little bit of trouble doing so here right now. We do have Quinn at ultimate level, and Noble Attempt will grab it in kind, but that harass is just insane, and in turn, Hito is going to crash a wave into tower. It looks like Barjungle only wants to go in for the dive. This is going to be a tough one, though. Already, we see Shyvana getting some damage down onto Noble Attempt, but they're going to have to walk back after that W is being used. And remember, ult still up for the set. Rutledge, meanwhile, in the mid lane, going a little bit too deep right there, going to take way too many tower shots and will fall to the Ahri.
Yeah, I mean, just grew a little too proud. I was busy watching the top lane, so of course I didn't see that bad thing happen. I'm just gonna erase it from memory. Twitch getting engaged on them.
Yeah, Zenith Blade going to be dropped down onto Percy. Cade in the area once again, going to wrap back around. Steel Thief too heavily engaged upon to get out alive, and now Snazzy, a lone Leona, is trying to get those autos onto Percy. But honestly, like, you have one of the lowest auto attack rates in the game. I don't care if you reset with Q, the rat's gonna get out, and so that is 2 deaths more. It's piling up for Lancers.
Did you say Lone Lee Ona, by the way?
Where's this going?
If you did. Like, Lonely.
Oh.
You did it on accident. I can't believe you.
Yeah, and now Barjungle only is just gonna have to watch 3 members of the enemy team mob their red buff. Lighthearted going to collapse in the area alongside Snazzy though. Zenith Blade going to land down onto Kanaina, but the counter engage is at hand. Solar Flare not available yet for that champion, so they're gonna have to walk this one back out. Cade spinning to win for the time being, and so many other members are healthy enough. I think they're just gonna be able to block out the Wukong as they ride the blast plant over the wall into safety. Team Rocket's blasting off again.
Wow, the fat. That was my like Team Rocket impersonation.
Yeah, you're going deep with a Wobbuffet reference. You know, most people, go with Meowth, like, normal people.
Yeah, but like blasting off again, like Meowth didn't say Meowth, that's right. But I'm sure that there are a couple of scenarios on where it was just like Wobbuffet, like as they turned into a little star.
Maybe.
That's why I did it the way I did it. Are we still looking at... We're looking at a level advantage for Noble at the moment, and I guess that has to do with him being shoved in as far as he is.
Yeah, so he's actually gotten the level advantage for quite a while now. I believe that he crested to level 5 first, but Hito answered back. They got level 6 as an advantage, and they tried to crest the wave in. But yeah, it's going back and forth top lane. But honestly, you're staying relatively stable against the Quinn, and in turn, I think that set's going to come out of this one relatively unscathed. I may have spoken too soon. Cade in the area, though, but Shyvana right there on the Rift Herald, so we may be getting some drama on the top side of the map.
It does look like we are going to get some action over there. I got back in mid lane.
Yeah, Cade going to get spotted out as well. There's Shyvana ultimate being used to engage down onto Monkey Man. He's going to be sent on the run. Lighthearted, though, had the priority in the mid lane, will be the first one to rotate up. And so now Wukong just going to have to stay here and wait for his team to wrap around. The shutdown going to be had by the Quinn. Bar Jungle only able to get out through the back door somehow. And now it is going to be Ahri engaged upon. They will not be able to pick up one more kill before falling. So for right now, it's a 1-for-1. And Bar Jungle only has to find a way out of this one. I think that they're just able to back outside of vision, though, as everyone turns their attention towards Hito, who will not be so lucky.
Yeah, actually really well played by Bar Jungle right there to make sure that they didn't get spotted out.
Solar Flare going to be utilized bot side of the map. Percy going to flash as a response. Noble attempt in the area. What a great flash and a freeze breaker. They're going to be able to pick up the kill against Kaisa. Snazzy on just a sliver of health moving out of that one. Great response across the map right there. That's how you use a teleport before 15 minutes now, Feed.
Yeah, well, yes, you can only do it at towers, you're correct.
Oh,
and then Leona is gonna fall. Kanaina is like, I want a solo
He has that
bolo.
ignite. Yeah, he has that ignite, so he has the ability to do it. And things looking all up for CBR.
One love. Oh,
Yeah.
watch out though.
Hito in a bit of actually, no,
dead.
he's the one that's causing a bit of trouble to Cade with that raining down of arrows. That being said, Relish gonna go deep in onto them. There is the advance forward. Relish gonna go golden now as Kanaina comes to help. The root double now against Ahri. Lancers on the run. They're gonna have to clean up their play right now if they want to take this to a Game 5 feed.
That was a really good stopwatch on the side of Rutledge there. Just to buy time for Kanaina to show up to sort of like supply and assist. I think that Quinn would have like bled out without the flash. But it might have been like a point blank, I have no HP left ignite that got thrown on them as well, right? You know, the Saint Vicious, I'm gonna miss all my skills, then I'm still gonna flash.
The classic,
to land my ult.
Yeah, Hito going to be able to just kind of turbo return to lane. That's one of the best things about Quinn, in my opinion. Just the ability to ult back into any of these positions and just make sure that you catch these waves will continue to keep you scaled. That being said, you do have a CS advantage for Noble Attempt just by virtue of the fact he's been very sticky, grabbing the CS where he can, and just staying in lane a little bit more, barring that teleport we just saw bot side.
Yeah, no, I'm still not over how terrific that was, followed up by the face breaker that grabbed both of them, too.
Yeah, that was such a good face breaker. Kanaina want to walk forward and break some faces of his own. We'll just get Void Missiled once for his efforts. Meanwhile, Cade, they're taking the Dragon alongside CBR Rutledge. Things are smoothly cruising up to 2 dragons on the board, basically on cooldown now, and that stacking, once again, going to be a big factor in determining the pace of this round.
Yep, and we haven't talked about it much. Let's look at items. You have Divine Sunderer being completed on Wukong, which is, I would say, a pretty strong item for him. A lot of different ways for the monkey to proc it. And then, you know, Frostfire Gauntlet done on Shyvana, and then no other mythic items for the side of Lancers Esports at the moment. So
It's a Kraken Slayer on the Quinn as well.
oh, is there? Is there?
Yes,
Is there?
yes.
Okay. Was that done, or did it just finish? Maybe I missed it.
You're going too deep on these questions. I'm not 100% sure on that front. All I do know is that it is completed. Hito is going to be doing a little bit more damage against beefers like Noble Attempt, so that's something to watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and they don't know that Cade is in that bush. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, there's a pretty big lane gank. For the time being, Percy just going to kind of stand alone there, clearing out the wave. There's a Hex Flash forward. Kanaina going to get a fantastic hook down, and Percy's going to pick up that kill, going on a rampage, in fact, with the double up against Leona. The Rat is on a line. The Rat is to be feared. Bar Jungle only arrives to lane with the Rift Herald saying, hey guys, let's go push down this lane. And then they realize in horror that everyone is dead, so they're going to have to back off towards Krugs. Across the map, CBR coming out victorious.
Hito just like slamming down with that damage though.
Yeah,
Rutledge.
I mean, damage traded back and forth, but I think that we've been proven at this point that Noble Attempt is just playing calm enough to really ride out the doldrums of this lane. Oh, solid dash away right there from CBR Rutledge, making sure that they don't get charmed up and they don't give away their shutdown to the Ahri. Noble attempt, gonna have to go for the back here. Does not have teleport up, and so Hito I think is just going to stay and continue to go for a push here. Cade might get collapsed on as Snazzy meets him in the river. That being said, Rutledge is going to come right up to start the fight as well. There's the ult in from Bar Jungle only. Snazzy going to have to go golden across the wall, though, and Rutledge will just wait in the wings for that to start up. Huge showstopper side of the map. Hito is going to fall to set before being able to pick up a kill for Lancers, and now Bar Jungle only is just at a sliver of health, going to have to hide under tower here, and 3 members of CBR. This fight is not over yet. Set wants to push this wave in. There's depth charge being put down onto Ahri, and they will collapse on all 4 members of Lancers and pick up every single one of them. It is looking like a dark time for Blue Squad.
Yeah, the Kana coming up to help set out with the Quinn was huge. And then, you know, there's only one way to finish somebody when you're on set.
Which, doing so much damage with their sewer skewers, they are going to push Steel Thief right out of that lane. You've seen them back in there by the tier 2.
Everybody!
Yeah, basically.
Got him for all.
Oh boy, we got about a minute and a half before a dragon number 3 comes here onto the map. It is going to be a Cloud Soul yet again. We've had 2 Hextechs and 2 Clouds in this series, so, you know, real exciting times going from the best to the worst in most people's opinion. But every single time, it has been a core aspect of the game, and I think that if Lancers want to get back into this one, they're going to have to force an awkward fight around one of these neutral objectives.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much I trust an actual fight for Lancers at the moment. They're down, what is that, 9K?
Yeah, 8.7K or something like that.
I mean, I'm
partially 9.
Rounding up. Had a sad situation at a gas station where I basically counted to 9, and this girl was like, "Wow, you're really good at math." I'm just like, I'm just good at arithmetic. I can go 30 to get to 90. Like, pain. Had a moment of pain.
See, there's a reason why I get a religion degree, and it's because I don't think I ever want to do math again in my life. So if I'm going to go down onto Percy, who's going to flash outside of the Zenith blade. That's a lot of resources gone away from the Leona, but Cade going to have to kind of wait in the backside and lead everybody from Lancers on a wild goose chase towards the rest of their team. Kanina going to seize upon that scenario, going to be able to get the hook down onto Hito. Hito will be melted away. It's now 3 so far dead for the side of the Lancers. Snazzy going to have to book it all the way back towards tower. Percy dominating. And you have CBR in the hot seat, ready and willing to bring this game to its ultimate conclusion. They're going to be able to grab up a 3rd dragon for themselves and try to then march down mid and continue to pressure and put this game away.
When did CB get a Shyvana?
I'm prepping for it.
I'm not saying who was the dragon there. So
I'm prepping for it.
You can't talk about a terrible sport pick.
Oh, okay. Well, just so you know, next one up on the chopping block is going to be Cassiopeia support. So.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm very curious. Silas.
You're just very ult dependent on the champion, right? You're looking for a petrifying glare in, and then you build kind of like Morgana. You go for your Leandries and you go for your Zanyas, and then you just hope that the game goes long enough to where you're able to go for full items and finally catch up to everyone else in the game, or you try to win by 20 minutes, which is the case on the vast majority of the bad supports that I pick.
Do you max miasma?
You know, I played this pick all of 3 times, and I think I just max QWE because I'm an idiot. So
max miasma.
You know, I'll have to try it. You know, thank you for inspiring me to ruin yet another ranked game.
I hate you. I accidentally played support Fiora once.
Oh, that sounds cool. I actually haven't tried that one out yet.
I won.
What if you do like full movement speed Fiora support?
No, just max W.
Oh, no, of course you max W, but also full movement speed, and then you ult someone and you just try to run around them.
Someone save me. You can. It's fine.
You know who needs savings right now? The Lancers, because this is going to be Shelly dropped down onto the tier 2, and it might not even be necessary. He's going to have to walk around that lip, and yeah, it will in fact be the tower falling without any charge being utilized. Looks like the Rift Herald was just going to sit there for a few seconds and evaluate his life choices before gearing up to hit this inhibitor tower. Great hook on this flank. Bar Jungle only punished heavily for the positional mistakes. And now look at this engage down into the mid lane. There is this showstopper back into the remainder of the fight. Percy going godlike here, and it's only the Ona left alive. I think that this is it. You got to wrap it up right now. CBR, they bring it to a game 4. That is all they need. The FF for the third time comes through from the Lancers, and they will bow out of this tournament.
That was a ridiculous solar flare from Rutledge. I mean, I know you didn't want me to talk about Silas, but that was a very good game.
That was incredible. That was incredible.
Like catching both the carries off guard.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours. Talk as much as you want about Silas. I can't believe I saw that.
Kanaina like completely deleting Shyvana with the hook, and then everyone just followed up on top of her. No chance to ult. And then, like I said, you had him taking a moment before. Rutledge was just sitting on it, wasn't using it. Saw the moment to strike, threw that solar flare down. I think stunned Kaisa and Ari, and then before too long, you have Cade to the 4th power, turning into 2 monkeys. So is that Cade squared? And then the two cyclone, it was fantastic.
It was great.
That was a great way to end that game. That was definitely a slam dunk to kind of exclamate.
I think we may have just lost. We just may have lost Feedonomics here.
There's finally. Oh no, I'm back. I'm here.
Welcome back. Yeah. Well, at least you're cutting out right at the end of the series more so than within a game. It's glad to welcome you back to the studio for these last few minutes as we just kind of process what happened here. Fantastic play there to end the game. Things were definitely going in the direction of CBR there. They just had fantastic domination over basically every single conceivable aspect of round number 4. But the fact that they were able to capitalize on a rough engage or rough wraparound from Bar Jungle only and translate that into a full-on team fight that led to a virtual ace basically sealed the deal here. And I really have to applaud them for how they processed and worked throughout this series. That being said, got to shout out Lancers as well. You know, they brought it deep into this run. You know, CB Rush definitely was the favored ones in this series, but hey, taking a game off of this team has been no small feat given how dominant they were in the regular season.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously the mid-season tournament winners and everything for the side of Lancer Esports. Bunch of really strong competitors on that side. Like Hito is a great top laner. Bar Jungle only is a very good jungler. So it's kind of Highlander rule. So there can only be one.
100%.
You don't have teams like 2 teams making it through the bracket. So there you go. You have one of your finalists now. Speaking of semifinals, we still have a game 5 going on Blue Otter League 1.
They started an hour before us. What is going on?
I don't know. It's crazy. You know what would be really fun? Narco?
Yes. What would be really fun?
What if we just go raid them right now?
Oh shucks, what a good idea.
Like we could do that. So like everybody should stick around. We'll go ahead and raid that next channel. I'm Feedonomics. Thank you guys for tuning in on Blue Otter League 2 to watch this matchup. Good games to both Lancer Esports and CB Rush. Narco, you got anything to say?
No, thank you so much for being here, for viewing this series. We couldn't have done this without you. Shout out to Laggy Sun there on production, always making sure that things run smoothly and run well. We are going to be set up for a raid here into game number 5 between another CB team here with CB Ruby versus Dragonclaw Cloud. So don't go anywhere. But yeah, follow me at NarcoLOL on Twitter. Follow Feedonomics at Reswhat, I believe, also on Twitter. It's going to be a great time. We have a lot still in store. And make sure you come back next week for the final game.
Finals, baby. Maybe we'll get a game 5 of that.